characters, and you know that you need somebody to deliver top-notch performance, and then that character is unique in that way. You know, it's not something you can just cast anybody because of the numbers, and you overlook that fact, and you just put someone that cannot deliver on the character because you think the person has got numbers. Then that drags the quality of the production.
It is not acceptable for popular faces to just go on and start filming without necessary kinds of training. For us in Actors Guild of Nigeria, it's something we totally abhor and we condemn. So you find out that sometimes before you catch them, they are finished making the film. So we are gradually working with the censors board in Nigeria to see that some of these things are put to a stop. You must have a certain level of qualification. Even if you have graduated from school and you have not done this business before, you still need some kind of elementary approach where you will be given some ideas, instructions, and what to do before joining the Nollywood industry. It's not all about I can act, I cannot act. Sometimes you see these popular people, when they come to set to act, they don't know terminologies of the industry. When you tell somebody who is acting and you say the director says cut, he doesn't know or she doesn't know what cut means. You understand? All of these things are the rudiments of the industry that they needed to go through. But because we are in a country where everything goes, people don't seem to follow rules and regulations, but we are gradually closing in on them.
With the advent of internet, social media, and instant entertainment platforms, many reality TV stars and skit makers have risen to fame. In this part of the world, becoming a top celebrity is either by ad work, persistence, or through reality shows. As we know that the road to fame is a tough one around here, a few of our top Nigerian celebrities credit their prominence to reality shows which have given them the opportunity. One of them is Seyi Awolowo, who didn't see it as a challenge for the Nollywood to cast popular faces in movies, as long as the directors have a sense of direction and vision they hope to achieve in the movie.
Well, I don't see why not. Everybody is entitled to be able to do what it is that they want to do. Only thing is when it becomes constant and if there's a regulatory body involved, if it's a constant thing where they've literally become constant film kid and they need to be registered, okay, then they can go and do that. But I believe that everybody should have, I don't see any reason why I will not put who I want to put in my own production when I want to put them in my production. I mean, I see that person to fit the role accordingly, to fit the character, Bible properly. So why not I'll bring the person on board? So I don't see anything wrong with it, as such. It just depends on who's creating movie and whose movie it is. Sometimes you want a particular kind of thing, but you're not willing to give. Give what you take or take what you give, how to speak. If you're going to be professional to the T. Follow your this thing and not along the line. I want to start using the or there's a sentiment of now help us to make it known. If you start a kind of particular kind of way, go all the way down to the end. Professionalism in the industry, I can't say varies from will I say companies to companies or from different organizations to organizations, how professional they are, or their motto, or their modus operandum of how they want to handle things. So, that's the thing. For me now, I can just have a laid back working environment where I want everybody wearing shorts and t-shirt and being more laid back as to probably just someone that wants everybody in a tie. And so it just depends on, the modus operandi of that particular organization that is handling the production of whatever movie or, that is handling that particular production for the time being while you are working, if you get what I'm saying.
There are regulatory bodies, but do they really carry out their duties? How do they manage professionalism in the Nollywood industry?
For us, we have a constitution that we're working with, but we're trying to come up with the memorandum of understanding in the industry, whereby even if you are involved in any show or something where you have been elected as maybe highest winner and all of that, you would need to still pass through one or two trainings and then belong to a group, either as a producer or as an actor, before you are practicing in the industry. Yeah, professionalism, without being political here, every industry needs professionalism. For us in Nollywood, we are grappling with that because the Nollywood industry is the industry that started without entry point and without exit point. And it continued to grow without anybody checking it. Now it has grown beyond bounds that wherever you are coming with discipline, it becomes like it's too difficult to instill discipline among practitioners because there were no laid down rules from beginning. There were no laid down rules from beginning. There were a lot of illiterates. There were a lot of people who didn't go to school. There were a lot of people who didn't see the four walls of any school, but because they are talented, they have made it big and they are now in the industry. So it's a Herculean task at this point. So we're calling on people who have been here before in the industry to so come back and say, look, this is getting out of hand. We have to come back to the basis. Let's see where we structure. Every actor, every producer, every director, you must belong to where your people are. Let us begin to see places. We need professionalism so I don't just do things out of proportion.
The Nollywood industry is a growing work in progress, and the Nigerian Film Censors Board needs to enforce the parameters that positively influence the creative processes from writing a screen to post-production. Is this body efficiently empowered to ensure professionalism in Nollywood? Well, hope we find answers soon.
For domestic violence.
Be careful, APC Chairman Adamu warns Machina over senatorial ticket tussle with Lawan. And Ekweremadu and wife in UK prison over alleged organ harvesting, I beg your pardon. Well, this is Plus Politics. I am Mary Anacon. The national chairman of the All Progressive Congress APC, Abdullahi Adamu, warned Bashir Machina over comment on the party's senatorial ticket in Yobe. The ticket has sparked controversy after Machina won the party's primary. He made it that he would not step down for Senate President Ahmed Lawan. Now, Lawan had contested for the APC presidential ticket, but he lost. However, Lawan, who represents Yobe North, was eventually listed as senatorial candidate for the general elections. Joining us tonight to discuss this and more is Babashola Adegbuyi. He's a political analyst, and Opunabo Inkotare is a former special advisor to the Rivers State Governor and a rights advocate. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us.
Good evening.
Good evening. Great. It's good to have you join us.
Good evening, Nigeria.
Great. It's good to have you join us. We have seen the whole dummy ticket thing play out. I mean, before now, it was the delegate situation. Everybody was talking about delegates. They seem to have dominated the headlines. But now, dummy tickets or placeholders seem to be the order of the day. And we have seen that play out in the Senate president's situation in Yobe State and in Akwa Ibom State for former Governor Godswill Akpabio. And one would wonder why this would hold sway. But then some people even credit this to the new electoral law, saying that this has opened a can of worms. Opunaba, I want to start with you. Where do you stand on this dummy ticket situation?
Are you talking of the Machina situation?
Yes.
Ticket?
Yes.
Okay. It's quite highly provocative. I listened to the APC National Chairman and Adamu, and it is quite characteristic of that man who has this predisposition for authoritarianism and a predilection for transgression of laws. The man who contested the election, the primary, was Machina, and I think that was sometime in May. And what is his name? Lawan went for the presidential ticket of the APC sometime in June or thereabouts, and he lost. Now, the argument is that Lawan contested the primaries. Well, assuming without conceding that he even contested, who won the primaries? That is the question. That is the conundrum. The man who won the primary was Machina. And unless Machina writes to INEC, to the party first, and later that letter will be transmitted to INEC, unless that happens, and it must be voluntary, unless that happens, Lawan cannot claim to be the candidate for the senatorial ticket of the platform of APC, which is not possible. And this political, what I refer to as political bludgeoning by Adamu, should not be brooked by anybody. Because what he is saying is not within the cognizance of the Electoral Act. And the Electoral Act is clear on this, quite lucid on this, that the candidate must voluntarily withdraw in writing, and that must be transmitted to the party and to INEC. And you now have to conduct fresh primaries. You see, these are all electoral obligations, procedural obligations that must be met if you have to substitute a candidate. Therefore, it is surprising that INEC will upload the name of Lawan as the candidate for that senatorial seat. I am very happy. It is actually gratifying to note that Machina has sworn to fight this. And there will be a judicial pronouncement on this. And I have a settled conviction that the judgment will be in favor of Machina, unless that judgment is procured. And any judge who does that, of course, we all know what is going on right now in the judiciary. Any judge who does that should be sanctioned, because these things are in black and white. They are clearly stated in the Electoral Act and lucid. So I cannot comprehend where Adamu is coming from. That should not be broke. That level of integrity should not be accepted by anybody. And that is the problem we have in this country. where people will want to transgress the laws with impunity. I am happy that Machina is resolute on this, and we are waiting to see the turnout, the eventually turnout of events.
Let me go to you, Babashala. I'd like to quote exactly what the APC chairman said to BBC Hausa, referring to Machina. He did say that if you do not know how to set a trap for a thief, the thief will set a trap for you. He said Machina should be careful. His issue is getting out of hand. And he said, as far as I'm concerned, as chairman, my party did not violate any law. Some would call this a threat. Some would say he's speaking authoritatively as a chairman of the party who's trying to make sure that its house is together. But what are your thoughts?
Well, the first question I will ask the chairman of National APC, the national chairman of APC is the bylaw or the constitution of APC above the Nigerian constitution? If not, so whatever he's saying is just wasting his time, because the truth is, you cannot be threatening a man who has won an election. There was a call for people to buy forms. He bought the form. There was a primary that was held. He attended the election and he won the primary. Now, you now for calling on the guy to step aside for someone who did not contest for that position is totally unconstitutional. If the INEC goes ahead with the election and presents Lawan, they have not done the job for Machina. Machina, because at the end of the day, Machina will win the election, either in court or anywhere, if APC wins that particular general election. If not, all the threats by the national APC will end the APC, regardless of who you are. You don't threaten other members of the political party because of the interest of one man. When Lawan knew that he was interested in going back to the National Assembly, why did you go for the national president primaries election? So it is all about, it shows that it's all about the individual and not about the interest of the party, as far as I'm concerned. And another thing is this: I don't know if there was an agreement, even if there was an agreement between the two of you before going into the primary election. Machina, for him to say he's no longer interested, regardless of what, that agreement is not binding on anybody. Although it is what we call a betrayal of trust. So you cannot hold him responsible if the party wins or loses. So it's his own election. What they will just do for him is to help him win the election, and that will be the end. And at the end of the day, just like the other speaker said, he will be the winner of the election if APC eventually wins in the general election.
Talking about the law now, because a lot of people have been making reference to the fact that, oh, you know, there are certain rules and regulations, and if this must be done a certain way. I'd like to quote the human rights lawyer, Femi Falana, who spoke on this issue. He did say that there are ways in which this can be handled. And the only way that Machina and, of course, Akpabio can have their names legally on that list is if the other people voluntarily withdraw. Now, but what does this say about the ruling party and handling of issues that have to do with some form of legality, especially in this case? Again, I want to go back to what what Adamu said about Machina. He put out a parable, of course, but then he also said that it's getting out of hand, and he will, as a party man, do the necessary. Do we see the APC adhering to the rule of law here, or are we going to see another show that might one way or the other cut corners as against what we would be expecting during this election? And like I said at the beginning, how does this make the party look at a time like this? Open up.
Well, you know, sometimes... Who's talking?
Go ahead.
Okay, sometimes we need to look at what is on ground. Adamu, the national chairman, can use his own role, his own position to do whatever he likes, but the rule of law is still there. The worst they can do is to allow the other political party to win by not supporting Machina in the general election that will be coming up in the next election.
But can they afford that? Can they afford that move right now, knowing that, as Fani Kayode had spoken a few days ago about 22 candidates in the senators might be leaving the party. Two already have left. Two people have left the APC. Can they afford losing to the opposition, knowing that this might deplete the number of senators on the floor of the National Assembly? Can they do that?
Yeah, it's possible for them to do that. It is very, very much possible. As long as we still have the INEC, if you look at the INEC timetable, there is still time for replacement of candidates. So now it is all about the highest bidder. If you go to a political party that is ready to present a party, that's ready to present a candidate, and the candidate is ready to accept a ransom, I can tell you that candidate can step aside for the other guy to come in. I think the INEC has up to July 15 for replacement of candidate. So it is still possible, anything can still possible between now and July 15. So all the judge need to do is to continue to talk to Machina, but threatening Machina will not solve any problem.
Okay, Openabo, I'm most interested in the part where INEC was or had received the names of the former governor of Akwa Ibom State and, of course, the Senate president, as opposed to the people who actually engaged in the primaries. What does this also say about INEC in itself?
Well, the integrity of INEC is at stake. I am a little bit dazed to hear or know that the names of Senator Godswill Akpabio and staggered by that, because INEC is quite cognizant of the law. You see, there are no two ways. Like I rightly said earlier on, the law on this is loosey. What is the provision of the law? Machina will have to voluntarily resign, withdraw, communicate same to the party, then the party will now transmit that letter of withdrawal to INEC. The questions you're going to ask, what are those burning questions? One, who contested? Because you must have primaries. And the candidate must only emerge after the primaries. Whether you even partook in the primaries, the issue is who was declared the winner at the primaries. That is one. Now, that candidate that was declared is the man that in the eyes of INEC, is the man that is going to contest the general elections. That man has the right to withdraw. And that's why you have that provision. Now, when he withdraws, and it must be voluntary, he must not be coerced. So even if today they say, oh, the man has withdrawn as a result of Adamu's pressure, he has been coerced. He was stampeded into it. So it will be illegal. It must be voluntary. To write to the party will now transmit same to INEC. Therefore, the man who contested was Machina. The man who met was Machina. How on earth did the name of Lawan appear? I'm not even bothered about Adamu. Adamu can say any kind of thing he wants to say. I don't give a damn. Adamu is not INEC. Adamu is not the law. My problem is INEC. How did the name of Lawan appear? And Akpabio, how did those names appear? That is the burning question, or rather the next question. Because even if they go to court, they will lose. So I am really taken aback. I am shocked that a man who never contested an election emerged as a candidate. We Nigerians will not allow that. We will not allow that to take place. And I'm enjoining Nigerians to rise up to this occasion. We cannot allow anybody to just come and bludgeon us the way they like and have their way because they are in positions of authority. This is infernal, completely infernal and unacceptable. So we want to see the end of this. And of course, INEC will be joined in the suit because they have to come and explain to Nigerians, to the court, how the names of Lawan and Fabio appeared. You must explain when they did not contest the primaries.
Okay.
It is highly ridiculous and provocative.
Okay.
This is enough to stimulate crisis in that state. And I bet you, if they are not careful, the APC will lose, no, APC will even have the candidate, but it will lose because right now the candidate is Machina. But it will definitely lose the election if they don't put that, if they don't put this house in order, it will lose that election.
Okay, I think that we're having a little connection issue with you, Opunabo, but let me toss back to get some clarity in terms of what the APC has learned and hasn't learned. Now, Babashola, we see that in 2019, there were lingering internal party crises, pockets of these issues, whether it was in Kwara, whether it was in Zamfara, whether it was in Rivers. There were these issues that somewhat was a setback of sorts for the party. Do you think that the APC has learned from what happened in 2019? And if they have learned, how and why do you think that this is happening now in 2022? It might not be the same thing, but we're seeing a type and a shadow of what had happened in 2019. Has any lesson been learned? And could this be mopped up as soon as possible to save face for the party?
Well, if I remember very well, I think what actually happened in 2019 was a matter of APC not fielding a candidate, and at the end of the day, the court had to stop APC from contesting in election. Well, I am not a member of APC. I cannot tell you if they have actually learned or not, but to the best of my knowledge, they have not learned. Not only from what happened in their own political party, but in Nigeria political party generally. This is not the first time this is happening. I remember, the Rivers State government then, Rotimi Chibuke Amechi, actually won the primary election. PDP fielded someone else to contest for the election. And he waited for the election to end. And he went back to the court, this is my case. And court removed the sitting governor and put the owner of the seat there. You get, so if we are to talk of learning, they have not learned. And according to what Opiabono said the other time, if you go ask someone to do something, that person is under duress. It's more or less like that person has not willingly done it by voluntarily resigning from that race. So what that means is that at the end of the day, he can still go back to court and still get back his seat if APC eventually wins, because we have been made to understand that it is not the people that will win the seat, but the party. And if Adamu is not careful, I can tell you, APC will most likely lose that position in Yobe North. And everybody will lose, and that is all.
And finally, Opunabo, I'm coming to you now. Knowing how the law works in Nigeria, sometimes, justice has its day, but half the time, some of these cases don't go the way we expect them to. And if this were to hold sway, for example, if this were to slide through with INEC having received Akpabio's name and, of course, Senator Ahmed Lawan's name as those who contested for the primaries, and these are the candidates for the elections come 2023, if this were to sail through, what precedents are we setting for every other political party and the electoral process in general, being that this might just be something that everybody might take up later, because if there's a precedence, people will always point to it. But is this something that we want to allow history to quote us on?
Yes, Marianne, yes, I agree with you that like you insinuated, in most cases in Nigeria, the rule of law is caged and administration of justice roundly subverted. I agree with you. Judgments are procured in most cases in this country. But I honestly cannot fathom how the judges will stand the law on its head in this particular matter. You see, the only negative aspect of this is that if APC had a chance to win that ticket, it is definitely going to lose that ticket as a result of schism in the party. But that Lawan will be the candidate in the general elections is highly impossible, almost impossible, and I want to call on everybody to ensure that that does not happen. You know what that means? It's like you, Mary Ann, contesting after the primaries, contesting, going, it's like you now, I think I'm from Akwa Ibom. INEC will now put your name on their portal as the governorship candidate for PDP. There is no difference. That is what it means. Because it is not contest. So you can take anybody from anywhere to put anywhere. That is not allowed. I mean, that is complete and is a prescription for anarchy. How are you going to explain that? So I don't think we should not even conceive it. Because the conception of it will even give them some sort of gumption, as if it is possible. It is impossible. It is like batting on a sticky wicket. It cannot work. INEC does not even have the powers to so do. Because the hands of INEC are set by the Electoral Act. So it cannot even have the powers to so do. That will be active ultra-virus. And it could not be tolerated.
Okay.
If they have the names of Lawan and the names of Akpabio, they should come and delete those names and throw them away and allow those who want the primary to go ahead with the primary. The only negative aspect is that APC is going to lose because PDP will take advantage of that. But we should stop tolerating nonsense in this country.
Okay. Well, I want to say thank you. Babashola Adegbuyi is a political analyst. Opunabo Inko-Tare is a former special advisor to the governor of Rivers State. Thank you so much, gentlemen. We'll keep our eyes on this story and watch it as it develops. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. And thank you for staying with us. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we will discuss the alleged organ harvesting case against the former Senate President Ike Ekweremadu and his wife. Stay with us.
Everybody wants new Nigeria. Nobody wants to continue with this rusted system that is not working for anybody except those who are in government and their cronies and people around them. And when you go to the New Nigeria People's Party, we are happy with the New Nigeria and we are happy with New Nigeria People's Party. And you see, we are not only looking for party with the majority of people. We were looking for a party that has a potential of receiving people who are of like minds. The party is very much concerned about the security in this country. Security is key. In fact, in the past, we were taking security for granted because we believe that every responsible government, not only in Nigeria, but across the country, will ensure the security of lives and properties. Unfortunately, we find ourselves in this country that the government in power cannot really say that they have done that. We have seen what happened just recently from here to Kaduna, where the train was attacked. So many people were killed, some were being injured. Many people were being taken into the bush. As we are speaking now, they are there with the bandits. Only God knows what is happening to them. We have seen young men and women, especially the young doctor that we have seen being killed, and we have seen the dead body and so on. It's very unfortunate. And We are not after the statistics of who was killed, who was not killed. What we are interested in is for the government to go and fish out those bandits and terrorists that are killing innocent Nigerians.
Yes, I was trying to harp on these assurances that these people came up with. They went every corner, every nook, assuring Nigerians that they were the only ones with the capacity. And the person of Mr. President is the best thing after Jesus Christ that will happen to Nigeria. And all Nigeria needed to have all its problems fixed was to get that man in power. Today, even his own party patrons, like we have listened recently from Governor Erifai, Rotimi Amechi, and very many who have come sincerely to admit that there's failure in administration, that there is gross incapacity. But it didn't take us that long for us to know. The first 3 months, in fact, before he resumed office, we knew that they were foisting on Nigeria a person who is devoid of integrity.
You see, it is easier for a court to say IPOB is a terrorist group because it is an association that is defined by objectives, and there are leadership, there are structure. You can easily define them as a group. So when you now classify such an organization, then anyone that associates with that organization can be said to be either be a member or aiding or abetting the advancement of such cause. Now, these guys are not structured. They don't go about under any name. They are just a bunch of criminals belonging to different camps and different groups that are operating under no name. Unlike JJN, Jamaatul Nasrul Islami, whatever, that's the Boko Haram, and ISIS in the Islamic West African province. Those are groups that are defined by name and objectives.
It's still plus politics now. The former Deputy Senate President, Ike Ekweremadu, and his wife, Beatrice, are in prison after they were denied bail by an Uxbridge magistrate court in the United Kingdom. Now, the lawmaker and his wife are facing trial charges on human trafficking and organ harvesting. The alleged victim in this is a homeless 15-year-old boy whose identity is yet to be disclosed. He was reportedly brought to the United Kingdom by Ekweremadu and his wife from the streets of Nigeria's commercial capital, Lagos. Now, documents show a letter written by Ekweremadu to the British High Commission explaining the situation and that have surfaced online and claims the donor is not a minor. Now, joining me to discuss and break this down, because this is the most trendy topic today, is Obinna Chukwu. He is a legal practitioner. Jide Ologun, who is also a legal practitioner, and Mr. Ezekiel Nyaitok, who is a political analyst. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us. This is a very good team to have discussed this matter.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Great.
Thank you.
I'm going to start from the legal perspective, and then we'll look at the politics of it. I'm going to start with you, Mr. Ologun. A lot of this story has had many dimensions. There's the side of the Senate President, and there are those who are supporting the Senate President. There are those who are against him, and then, of course, there is the British story, all in it. Now, they have been denied bail. But there are people who are querying the sketchiness of the story from the boy and, of course, from the Senate President. Tell me what you think is going on.
It's already beyond the media arguments that we have in Nigeria. The London Metropolitan Police has chosen to arraign Ekweremadu and the wife on some allegations. And it includes procuring a passport for a boy of 15, claimed to be 21. Human trafficking is involved. Intention to carry out organ harvest is involved. And for the UK government, they have refused to grant them bail because they do not take lightly the allegations involved. in this conduct. And we can quickly try and make a comparison. You recall that the former governor of Delta State, was jailed in the UK for 13 years in respect of corruption, fraud, money laundering. And he has not even been prosecuted in Nigeria for the same offenses. So you don't expect that the UK will browse over these allegations lightly. And having said that, they still have access to the presumption of innocence. These are just allegations at this point. So you expect that the UK government will carry out thorough investigation and run them through diligent prosecution before a committed judiciary. So we cannot put on the matter right now. But for the purpose of trying to expose us to what the elements are, when you talk about the elements of crime, you talk about the mental state, which we call the mental state. Latin word for guilty mind. We talk about the conduct itself, actus reo. We talk about the concurrence, which means that without the mens rea and actus reo, we cannot even convict anyone of crime. And you talk about the causation, which links the accused with this criminal conduct. So right now, the matter has been adjourned to the point of view of 2022. The critical aspect of it is that it's so important to the UK government that they have not been granted bail. So we are monitoring to see how it goes. But basically, I mean, for presenting that young man to be 21, rather than the rightful age of 15, it's a serious issue. And some of the lessons to learn here is that the UK government takes issues like this seriously. So what passes in Nigeria may not pass in the UK. So, okay. And the former Controller General of Immigration has promised that there should be a relationship between Nigeria and the UK to resolve this matter. But basically, I anchor my position now that there are allegations against the couple. Okay. And it's left for the police and the government to come to a conclusion.
Okay. Let me move to Barrister Chukwu. Many have made a case, an argument. I mean, FFK has also argued that it is an allegation. There is still that innocence until proven guilty. And the questions that many ask is, I mean, because there has been a story, a side to it, which says that this young person got to the United Kingdom, was tutored as to what he would do. And first, let's not forget that the organ did not, according to them, match. Hence, they wanted to return him to the United Kingdom, but he returned him to Nigeria, but he ran away and got to the Home Office. And then all of a sudden, decided to say, well, look, according to them, I'm 15 years old. I came here against my own will. And of course, it has become what it is. But why would a long-serving senator decide to go on this path? I mean, we know that we have fought against, we've fought for child's rights. We've fought against abuse of the rights of children and all of those things. And even certain states had put out a law that their young stars would not even be taken into any form of modern-day slavery. Why do you think Senator Ekweremadu and his wife would go on this path if it be true? What level of desperation would make anyone, decide to do a thing such as this?
Okay. Number one, I will say that it may be it's still too early to reach some of these conclusions that some of us are reaching, because I'm not an issue that needs to be looked at is, again, whether or not the youngster lied or presented a forged age declaration to Ekweremadu, upon which Ekweremadu now filed for visa and other sundry documents before finally they arrived United Kingdom. That area also needs to be looked at, and I believe that the UK police or the whatever agency that is handling this matter, we look at it from all angles, because I am not going to hold brief for Equeremado. There are some areas that by my own understanding, I could say that the desperation either to save or to assist their daughter may have led them to do something that I think, from my own understanding and understanding of the law, I will say that the family didn't do well. Number one is that when it has to do with transplant or donation of organ or harvesting of organ, particularly harvesting of organ, is against the law, is even against international law. If there is going to be any donation of any organ or body part, it has to go through the legal process. And again, the medical, it should be the hospital or the medical personnel that should be at the forefront. It shouldn't have been Senator Equeremado and his family trying to railroad the boy or whoever to UK for the transplant or whatever. I think if the family, if not for desperation, if the family had gone through the normal process, because the normal process should have been present their daughter to the medical facility, how to go through the crucibles of law, then an announcement is made looking for donors. Wherever the donors come from, then the people that are concerned would have looked at the age. Because why this is really much an issue is because of two things. Number one, a minor does not have capacity to enter into any valid contract. It doesn't matter how Equeremado's family will twist it. Once it is confirmed that the boy is a minor, except there are documents or so evidence to show that the boy, in concert with other people, may have lied to the family. That will be the only thing that I think may have to play somehow, be an advantage to the Equeremados. But if not, a minor cannot validly enter into any contract. Talk of entering a contract for fraud. Okay. No minor has a right to say, I donate any part of my body, not even an adult. Nigerian law forbids it. It's against Nigerian law, it's against international law for a human being to present, even donate any part or parts of your body for monetary or pecuniary gains.
Okay. All right. Let me go to Mr. Nyaitok. Mr. Nyaitok, let's talk about the politics of it. Many, I have heard, have called this a political witch hunt of sorts, judging from the fact that a few weeks and months ago, there were plans in the works reportedly, for the Senate president to move to the ruling party, reportedly. And now many are saying that this is a political witch hunt of sorts, that this was planned from the get-go to make the senator look bad. Let's also not forget that he was recently made a visiting professor to a university abroad. And many have said that this is somewhat of a stain on his persona. But again, do you think that this was a clearly thought out plan of sorts to bring the man down?
If I answered in the affirmative, I think Nigerians will lose the respect I think they have for me. To say that a case as grievous as this is masterminded by the opposition to either make you look bad or to gain political advantage. I think that is a very, very simplistic approach to a case of this magnitude. Now, The first is there's a difference between organ harvesting and organ donation. Put that in one basket. Second is that we live in a society that has two major problems. The first problem is that the big man has a way of delegating responsibilities, and then the smaller people have a way of being unduly sycophantic, so that when they see what is wrong, rather than tell the big man the truth, they have this mentality that nothing can go wrong, anything can be covered, and they forget that Nigeria is not like other countries. To that extent, there is a conspiracy theory that I would look at where the man has given a mandate, being a political season is very serious, and gives his people, can you do this for me? And they say, yes, we can. And they probably even possibly cut a deal. And the man does not do the due diligence because he's a big man. And as a result, he writes the necessary letters without, believing, trusting that his people have done the due diligence. And there's a possibility that his people see the chance of making a deal out of the whole system. At the end of the day, I want to look at certain timelines that are not made clear to me as of today. When was this letter written? Where were you? When did you travel? That's talking about the young person. For how long were you in the place, in Britain, so to speak? Fourthly, when you were fully tested, did you say anything? What was the reaction? Can they play the tapes? And finally, they come back to you and say, well, thank you. Unfortunately, the organs don't match. Tomorrow or next, you'll be going to Nigeria. And then, boom, the guy zaps. He takes off. So could this be an innocent young boy? Or could he be a trickish person who was part of the deal of falsifying his age and getting back to the UK, seeing a chance of going to UK, and then disappearing from there? I think that we should not be hasty to draw certain conclusions. There could be situations of irresponsibility with respect to the concept of due diligence, and also thinking that this issue of the big man can get away with anything. As a result, he delegates functions to the smaller people. So we really need to look at all the timelines. He might have done something that is unethical or even illegal. But the question is, to what extent could this have been an intentional act or a case of irresponsibility or being deceived? At the end, I look at a father who has passion for the child and is willing to bend over backwards. But if he did that to the detriment of another person's child, it is unforgivable. But if it was something that was presented as a consented situation, and when he discovered it did not work, and he says, thank you, young man, I really appreciate that you were willing to do this for me. I have to take you back to your parents because I had promised to do that, and that will be tomorrow. And then this guy now says, obviously there's always a fifth columnist, now says, wow, no, I'm not going back to Nigeria. And somebody tells him, this is the way to get about it. It's a case we should not really rush. I will not exonerate Ekweremadu, even on grounds of irresponsibility and not doing due diligence, but we really need to see to what extent he is either culprit or he is a victim of not doing due diligence.
Okay, well, gentlemen, our time is fast spent, but I want to give you each a sentence each as we wrap up this conversation. The court has refused bail for both the Senate president and his wife. Thank goodness this is happening in the United Kingdom, as opposed to if it were here. The name of the young person is being withheld, of course, for reasons, protective reasons. But how do you see this turning out? And again, what kind of way does this paint us as a country? in the eyes of those who are watching on the international scene? A statement each.
No, let's go back to the case of Ibori. What the UK said then is that corruption is a cancer in developing countries, and that the UK has zero tolerance for corruption, and that the UK is committed to rooting out corruption wherever it is undermining development. So it's a matter of two systems now. So perhaps what we may overlook in Nigeria, not passed in the UK.
Okay.
Why we expect that at the end of the day, if he's not found guilty, he will be released. But what the UK is saying is that they are going to thoroughly investigate this matter, prosecute irrespective of the office he holds or he held in Nigeria.
Okay.
Some people who went to the UK when Ibori was being tried to say he built an Olympic-sized stadium in Delta State. And the court told them they were not to assess his performance in office, but to jail him for specific crime. So there are several lessons to learn here.
All right. Well, we don't have time. We're running out of time, and I said a sentence each, so we have to quickly move on to the rest so that we can wrap this up. All right, quickly, Barrister Obinna, and then of course, Ms. Nyaitok.
Okay. For me, I will say that this is not really good for the nation, Nigeria, coupled with all the stories that have been coming up from this part of the world. I do not think it is the best for this nation. And secondly, I think that the teachable lesson is that due process pays.
Okay.
If Ekweremado's family had done this thing through following due process, I do not think that all this embarrassment and whatever debacle that is playing out in the United Kingdom will be there.
Okay.
So we should all learn from this.
All right. Ms. Nyaitok, finally.
There's a world out there where things are done properly, notwithstanding your position. Secondly, learn to take personal responsibility. The big man syndrome has its limit. Finally, it's unfortunate that the name of Nigeria is being resounded again on the wrong note. I hope we all take a lesson and learn from it. And the Nigerian justice system should learn not to look at face. I think that finally my heart goes to the young child, and I pray that God will even possibly miraculously save the child.
Okay. Well, I want to say thank you, Barrister Obinna, Barrister Jide Ologun, and of course, Mr. Ezekiel Nyaitok. Thank you, gentlemen, for being part of the conversation. We appreciate your thoughts.
Thanks for having us.
All right. And that's it on the show tonight. We leave you with the highlights of the week in case you had not watched some of our episodes this week. Take a look. I'm Mary Anna Cone. See you next week.
I am making a confirmation now to what the Edo State governor said. He said, do you notice that there's a new trend in the horizon now? That almost every household has somebody called the obedient. I didn't say it. That was coming from a PDP governor from the South. That's to tell you that we are reaching out to everywhere in this country. The other day, it was a Fulani girl telling her mother that her new name now is Obedient. This happened in Sokoto, in Gombe. Somebody just opened an office on behalf of the Labour Party and printed it by himself. In the North Central, a woman just opened an office by herself and printed the Labour Party. So you see, what we are having in our hands is a tsunami. So everybody who wants to win government should just come on board.
All the pointers. You're the second person who's talking about the same issue.
Naturally, you can talk like that. You're comfortable. You need to go to Ekiti.
What makes you think I'm comfortable?
You're looking beautiful like this. Go to Ekiti. There is hunger in the land. Even the farming, they can't even go to farm again. There is serious hunger in the land. Now, is it deliberate for the government to starve people and still want to induce them, buy them over with their commonwealth now? Is it deliberate? Okay, fine. Maybe before now, you can say people buy votes. They buy votes maybe a day before the election, and they see that during the course of the election, people can still go ahead and vote their own choices. But in this regard, they call it see and buy. Money was brought to election ground. And this is serious, it's a serious one. If this is not checked, then it's to say to the world that Nigeria is actually on sales.
The 2023 elections might be different slightly a bit from the elections we have been witnessing in the past. I quite agree with my brother there that some sentiments we see play out, like religious sentiment, the ethnic sentiment, and some other sentiments will not be accepted. But at the same time, Nigerians will now be asking themselves, how was my life, my living standard in 2015 when APC took over, in 1999 when PDP took over? To some extent, these issues are going to play a prominent role.
So these votes are probably going to be split among all the various contenders as it is now. So it simply means that they may not get a sole will to begin to say, yes, their merger, the fusion can actually give them the victory. This cannot happen. What will probably look like at the end of the day, they will share the vital northern votes and probably some splitter of Igbo votes. Some people are even speculating that the Igbo has over 9 million within the Northwest. We disputed some of these figures. If that is what they are saying, that all the Igbos are probably going to give Peter Obi their votes, that may not give him this election. So this is what we are looking at. So if for instance, before this primary stuff came up, they had decided to come together and they believe their ideologies are the same. As it is now, we don't even know whether they can flock together. Do they really have the same ideology? Why do they want the merger? What are they trying to achieve? What are the political values at various levels? All of this, what are they trying to tell Nigerians they are coming together? You see, these are some of the issues that need to be played out in the political domain before you begin to either ask, begin to give them an edge in the kind of policies that we have in Nigeria today. So I don't see this measure coming up. Even when this measure do come up, I don't see them picking the victory. Rather, I see them as people are trying to spoil the shows for other bigger part that probably will won the election straight on.
what we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect them. If you no talk, then go beat you. Now 2,500 and they pay.
Nigeria, by extension, Africa, is faced with a lot of challenges. The growing youth population with little engagement, that is a ticking time bomb. We are a blessed people with diverse culture and highly cerebral minds who have a lot to say. And yes, we are talking. It is important we drive the right conversation that informs, inspires, influences thought and action. If we say there's beauty in our diversity, then let us embrace our diverse culture. We must continue to courageously be the voice of transformation as we are the hope for the future. Yesterday's conversations shape today. What are you saying to shape your tomorrow? We know you have a lot to say, and we are here to hear you.
Hello and welcome to What Are You Saying? #Ways, where we talk about topics in the news as it affects us all. I am Uti Elu, and today I'm joined by the amazing, beautiful, let's start with Money Money, and Norma Efara. How are we doing today, ladies?
Awesome. I'm fine.
Hey, you've been in bed all day, don't you?
You look awesome. You girls are making me shy. Take it easy.
Clearly, I didn't get the pink memo, but it's okay.
Yes, exactly. Not the whole thing.
I think as in for once. Yay.
Yeah, you're on track.
I like that.
Yeah. Norma, how was your day?
Oh no, as in, in fact, maybe I should just keep it to myself, right? Let's see, because there's no how I'll tell anyone that I had
the kind of day you had.
Very hectic day, and they will believe. So right now I'm dealing, so I'm just trying to channel my energy to the conversation of the evening. But I want to say it was productive in spite of all of the challenges I had to face. It was truly a productive one.
Well, that's really good, because I find that in Lagos sometimes productivity is the thing that suffers. You're either stuck in traffic, you're stuck somewhere, some unplanned thing that just turns all your plans upside down. So if you're productive, then it's good.
Oh yeah, because for me, I think I'm being more and more conscious and intentional about what I want to achieve. So I focus on what I want to achieve. Once something comes up and says, "Oh, it's not possible," I'm looking what's the next option. So I'm just in that zone until I'm done, and then you just find out, oh, I've poured in all of my energy and I'm completely worn out. But thank God it's Friday. So.
Yes, Friday. Like this morning, I was leaving the house and I went, "What day is it? Is it Thursday or is it Friday?" It says Friday. I'm like, there's a sleep that I sleep on Friday.
Wow.
I don't sleep like that any other day of the week.
No, I do that on Saturdays.
So once I cross over,
I do that on Sundays.
Oh,
yeah,
you
I
can?
do that on Saturdays into Sundays, because Saturday mornings I have serious commitments very early. So it's only Sundays. My Sundays are free. Then I can sleep.
Mine's the other way around. So for me, I think it's a mental thing that once we cross tonight, the weekend is over. So in my mind, tonight is the only time that I sleep with responsibility free, peace. Like I don't have to think about Monday because there's still Sunday. But once I wake up tomorrow, the weekend is over. That's how my mind is. Yeah, so it's only really on Friday that my mind powers down. But I mean, I'm excited. Uwa is not with us today. She has left us on our own. But we will make a fantastic show of it. So here's what we found as today's quote. You must either modify your dreams or magnify your skill. And that's from Pinterest. I think that's a fantastic quote. Skills and dreams, which do you think is more important?
Skills.
Okay.
Well, no, I'll say dreams. Sorry. You can always get skills. So I'll say dreams.
I agree.
Yeah.
Dreams are very powerful. If you do not have a dream, then all of that effort is towards what?
Somebody else's dream.
Yeah, thank you. Somebody else's dream.
So I mean, I think that dreams for me, I've had a turbulent relationship with dreams. I think at one point I felt like I wasn't achieving any of my dreams. I just made a decision to stop dreaming.
Really?
So for many years I just would be like, I'm just one day at a time, one foot in front of the other, until I think I got to a place where I was like, okay, I want more. right? I want to,
Actually,
I want to shoot for the stars,
Yeah.
like. But it was a process. I literally went for a good number of years where
Without
I just
dreaming.
was like, I don't feel like I ever achieved, like nothing comes through.
So
it
you
doesn't
were
work
just
out the way I want.
coasting.
So I was just literally just putting one foot in front of the other, just living every day with, I just want to make it to
Until
the next
you
24
decided
hours,
to be
right?
intentional.
So it was a process.
Well, you
until
know,
I
there's
got
a
to
kind
this
of
point.
peace of mind that you get when you're in that arena where there's no pressure. You're just leaving.
So I think it depends on your personality. So I think that for me, the problem with my personality is that I constantly want more. I constantly
You're
like,
hyper.
I try not to call myself an overachiever, but in my mind, I'm like, you could be doing 100 things more than you're doing now. That in itself is a lot of pressure.
There's
So
drive.
I needed to shut down for a while and then pick up again.
Recalibrate.
But dreams are very powerful. I certainly agree.
Yeah.
The successful organization is currently productive and viable long-term, has the vision with its strategy structure to enable financial success. So the ability of an organization to achieve every iota of success it is capable of attaining depends first upon the organization's clarity and secondly on its ability to select the appropriate strategy or strategies to accomplish the vision and ultimately on the structure of the organization in place to deliver for the customer. So Ifeoma Moye is here to discuss business strategy, moving to a successful operational structure. But first, let's take a break to see what we found in the news. You're still watching Ways, National Take Your Dog to Work Day, celebrated on the Friday following Father's Day, honors one of our most beloved pets. For dog owners, the hardest part of the day is leaving these four-legged fur babies behind as we head into the office. Dogs brighten up the best days, so it's pretty obvious they will bring up the fun factor at work exponentially. So if you receive the green light from your company today, it's a great way to show off your dog, your pet, to your co-workers. Take Your Dog to Work Day began in 1999 as a way to celebrate our companions, the dogs, and encourage adoptions. Having your dog at work with you all day may make it a little difficult to get all your tasks done, but having the dog with you may allow you to interact with your co-workers in a whole new way. As the dog is a great icebreaker, and you get the opportunity to pitch that idea of promoting better team play and better communication and teamwork to your boss. So you may be able to convince him or her to allow Fido sit next to you at your desk as you celebrate this holiday. So are we dog lovers?
No more kids for me under my roof. So dogs are like.
So for you, a dog is like a child, right?
Yes, but I mean, we were the ones taking care of the dogs, and then when my dad comes back, they would run to him. Like after I'm done with all the work, and then you go cuddle him, and then you're coming back to me for your food, for your vet, and all of that. So I was done with that. And anytime my kids always, oh, when can we get a dog? I said, when you're old enough to take care of it, then we can have that conversation.
You've never had dogs?
We will never have a dog in the house. Oh, my son is always like, oh, Mom, I want a pet, I want a pet. The best you can hope for is a fish, not a dog.
Because
that smells with hair everywhere.
I don't know how, sincerely, I don't know how they do it. Like how people take care of it. Because I've been with dogs. No matter how we clean them, there's this distinct smell, and I'm very sensitive to smell.
Absolutely,
that I agree with you.
The smells, the hair, the slobber. No, you know, like you see people kiss their dogs.
They lick all over. I'm like, no offense, but
no, not for me.
I'm done with
Do you like
animals.
dogs, Manny?
I love dogs, but I grew up with dogs.
Okay.
But, you know, now that I own my own house, seeing the dogs going to pee on my rugs and everything is a no-no. So I ended up
But you
always...
can train them. I don't know how they make them.
Yeah, you can, but
I'm still training my children. I'm still training my children.
It's not for me at all.
Let's leave that.
Manny, what did you find for us in the news?
Okay, secondary school students celebrated end of WAEC in beer parlor. So with the recent conclusion of the West African Senior School Certificate Examination, WAEC, conducted by WAEC, students who participated in the exercise all over West Africa, especially in Nigeria, are elated and have begun celebrations. So the students of the Christian Secondary School, Uyo, Akwa Ibom, took a different turn to their celebrations, according to reports, and pictures making their way to social media. The photos making the round online show these secondary school students celebrating the end of their WAEC in the beer parlor. So in the photos posted by Uyo Facebook page, Media Boyfriend, on Thursday, the students are seen in the beer parlor gathered around the table celebrating with 11 bottles of double 3 export lager beer on their table. This drink is well known. It's a well-known alcoholic drink in this part of Africa. So what do you girls think about it? The last day of school for you, how was it? Did you find yourself in beer parlors? Or
we celebrated, right?
We were signing our shirts and our slum book.
Yes, and writing
Mama was
writing
on your school uniform on the wall. But beer parlor, come on.
It just tells you that the times have changed.
Changing.
And what children are being exposed to, what are they seeing? We have
understand?
more people who drink now. And it's an open conversation. So it's not like those days. You probably knew you had uncles that used to do stuff, but it wasn't in the fore.
I think so for me, right, when I saw this, I thought, I mean, kids have always, by that stage, dabbled or tried it.
Yes.
I think a couple of things play against the children or the youth of today. One is social media. So things that you would have done and gotten away with, maybe one neighbor would have seen you and told your parents, that would have been the best. But now somebody just takes a picture and it goes viral, right? So they're struggling with that as well. But I think that we've also moved on in terms of how we even, like you said, what you see people doing. Drinking is now mainstream. When you watch TV, the videos they watch, the music videos, so it's become the norm, which is not what
the people they look up to display this thing.
Exactly. So, I mean, to a certain extent, sometimes I cut them some slack because I'm like, oh, how are you like this? But actually, culturally, the world has moved on where they almost see these things like part of everyday life. It's normal now. So I feel for the kids today. It's really a tough time to be growing up.
It is.
Norma, what did you find for us?
So I have ICPC clarifies discovering billions in Burtai's home. The Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, on Friday clarified reports that it recovered 170 million naira cash and $220,965 G-Wagon from the residence of the Nigerian ambassador to Benin Republic, Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai. The reports have it that the ICPC recovered 1.8 billion naira from a house and office said to belong to Buratai in Abuja, and the huge sum was said to have been recovered. The huge sum said to have been recovered was part of the billions of naira earmarked for the purchase of arms and ammunition by the president-led government, President Buhari's led government. But now they've retracted that accusation in a statement that they said the commission wishes to state that the ICPC operatives raided a property in Wuse 2 of Federal Capital Territory on Thursday between 5 p.m. and 12 a.m. on suspicion of money laundering. Facts available for the time being indicates that the property is owned by another person, said K. Salam Construction Company, a military contractor. So I don't know how we come to this kind of conclusions and we quickly go to the press and put out statements when they are not factual.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is real or this is them trying to downplay the situation. But I think it's still an ongoing process and we're still looking at the outcome.
Yeah. I think these days... No, go ahead, Manny.
No. I'm just wild.
Wild, right?
You know when you hear all these billions going around,
numbers are just,
they are not making sense.
When we used to hear millions, then that somebody or hundreds of thousands, it was huge. But billions, it seems like just a million or something like that.
It's become, it's completely just gone a different way.
Let's see how the story turns out.
So let me quickly take my story. So it says Saraki set for showdown with terminal operators over container deposit. So the Saraki in question is the Minister of State for Transportation, Senator Gbemisola Saraki, who has served as the minister since 2019. when she was appointed by President Buhari. Now she's talking about making ease of business, particularly at the seaports, and she says she's going to put processes in place that will ensure that shipping companies promptly refund container deposits paid by importers and agents. She's promised to work with stakeholders to reduce cargo dwell time at the port, assured stakeholders of sustained communication engagement to make the ports more productive. So, I mean, when I saw this story, it's quite a long story. There's a lot of promises there and things about what they plan on implementing. The plan on implementing is the part I don't understand. You don't been in office since 2019. You are almost on your way out, no? Election is next year. Then you say you are planning to. What have you been doing for the last 3 years plus?
It's just grabbing.
So that's really the only reason why this story stuck out to me, because I was like, did she just get? So I had to check to confirm that. Did she just get appointed maybe in the midst of all these people changing the election and all of that? No, she's been here since 2019. So why are you planning to plan now? But anyway, this is our government, and this is what happens.
It's normal.
But, you know, and particularly with our ports.
It has become normal.
It's the norm, right? So we hope that the plans are implemented before she exits said office.
We hope so.
But let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll take our topic for today. Stay with us.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the barbing, I pay my rent. On the barbing, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
He suffered equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect them.
If you don't talk, then go beat you.
Now 2,500 they pay.
Thank you for staying with us. So according to an online source, clarity of vision is essential for business growth, as no business can serve every master or in fact every customer. When there is a clear vision of who the business serves and what the problem the organization is solving, the business can direct its scarce resources to its priority activities. The vision of the organization is the consistent thread that weaves throughout the decision-making process, beginning with the selection of an appropriate strategy for the organization. Selecting an appropriate strategy is key. The organization which selects a strategy it cannot execute or deliver because of resource limitations or other factors is an organization which cannot achieve the maximum degree of success. An organization with the ability to distinguish between possible strategies and the strategy it is capable of delivering, even if it is a stretch, is an organization with a well-developed sense of awareness. What are the business growth strategies that you know can move a business from just vision to a successful operational structure? So please let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp message to 0818-038-4663. Tweet at us at WasteShowAfrica1 with the hashtag WasteShow. Business owners, money, and Noma FM.
That's the mogul right there.
We have the right people on the table today to discuss this topic. So I'll start with money because for the lawyer in the house, I think it's a huge leap for you to go from a practicing lawyer to setting up your own law firm. What was the vision that drove you? Because it must be a big dream to power you into that kind of thing. So what was the vision that drove you to that?
Okay, so transforming your vision into reality is a plan thingy. It's something you have to have different plans. It's easy to dream, like we talked about dreams or skills. Which one is easier? It's easy. Everybody dreams, you know. So they said, okay, for example, a place like America, everybody has this American dream that anybody can become somebody. So even the madman on the street can just have dreams. But what now differentiates the man with the dreams and the man who brings it to fruition is steps, action. So for me, I like to recommend Habakkuk 2:2 for people because visionaries who want to go into business. So it basically says write your vision down on paper, make it plain so that anyone that reads it will run with you. So for me, it's about knowing exactly what you want. Action your plans. So go into the market, have a target area first, know what it is you want to do, go into the market, get your market and industry plans, do your investigations.
Your research.
You understand, do your research, know identify your inputs, your outputs, identify your growth plan, your expansion plan, and long-term plans, you know. So once you put everything on paper, it becomes easier, and then you continue to check them to make sure that you're still on course. And, you know, when we say taking it from vision to paper, to fruition, it takes a long process. So it's something you continue to do. So even when it becomes a reality, you still stay on it to make sure that there's still growth. There must be a long-term plan.
So let me very quickly before we bring in our guest. Noma is our communications buzz. So I think that there's one thing, Manny has talked us through that process of, bringing it to life. But how do you actually communicate it? How do you get your team to buy into
the vision?
The interesting thing about communication is that a lot of people communicate without informing, or they inform without communicating. Where communication takes place is where you are able to pass a message across, and then there is understanding that enables a person to take the desired action. So there must be clarity where you're going, and then you must be able to say it in simple terms that they're able to understand what the direction, and then there are steps towards getting there, and they can actually they have that understanding to be able to execute.
So you can be saying one thing
and somebody understands a different thing and is running in a different direction, and that can cause diversion.
Oh wow, okay.
I don't know if you guys saw this. I always use this as an example. There was this relay race they were doing in the primary school where children were running with the baton. So you take it and you pass the baton to the next person.
Somebody took it and kept running.
Running in one direction. I was like, oh my God. So
somebody didn't get the plan.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so it's very important how you communicate the vision. So Ifeoma Monye is a seasoned strategist, project execution and operations management specialist with 20 years experience. She's an expert at guiding individuals and organizations in articulating their vision, building efficient processes and systems to drive optimal performance by providing them with the necessary tools to build sustainable institutions and legacies. She's a partner at Chuchi Consulting, an operations management consulting firm that specializes in the optimization of business operations through innovative strategies and consumer intelligence, with a focus on socio-economic impact. She is also the co-CEO, strategy and operations of the Lefodo Group, founded by Mr. Olu Jacobs and Ms. Joke Silva, where she leads the strategic organizational support and business advisory functions. As a certified wealth manager, Prince 2 and MSP practitioner, Ifeoma has successfully planned and managed numerous projects and programs in the UK, US and Nigeria in various sectors, including media, retail, education, real estate, financial services, healthcare, hospitality, non-profit and agriculture. Woo! She completed the general management program and key executive program both at Harvard Business School. Ifeoma has a degree in economics and political honors from the University of Essex in the UK. She attended the High Impact Leadership course at Yale University, organized by the Nigeria Leadership Initiative. She's the president of International Women's Society of Nigeria, a fellow of the Institute of Management Consultants Nigeria, member of the Institute of Directors Nigeria, a fellow of the Nigeria Leadership Initiative, a life member of Women in Management and Business and Public Service, WIMBIZ, and a member of the Harvard Business School Association of Nigeria. That is a profile and a half.
Did you just read that from one person? Are we still talking about one person?
So, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yay.
Thank you for having me.
I don't even know where to start. I'm overwhelmed by how much you've done. I feel like you've lived like 10 lifetimes.
It's funny because even as you're reading it, I'm like, is this me?
So where did you find the time to do
I have no clue.
Like you're a consultant, you're a co-CEO. I mean,
amazing.
There's still 24 hours in your day, right?
Yes.
You know?
Superheroes that we have in Nigeria.
So, I mean, it's wonderful to have you on the show. Thank you for
you.
joining us. I'm hoping that we get to learn a lot of things from you today, because vision is so powerful.
Yeah.
Every company, so I work in customer experience, and the strategy for me is what is the foundation of the work that I do. But I find that a lot of companies, when I go in and speak to them and say, we have a vision and mission. So typically you walk in and it's displayed somewhere, and I say, okay guys, what's the mission and vision? And there's a blank stare. Most organizations, people don't even remember it. In some places, they've been forced to memorize it, but they still don't know or they don't understand it. And more so, there's then that disconnect between what the vision is and the strategy, and even then understanding the strategy. So I'm going to unpack this statement, and let's start from the mission and vision statement of companies.
Yeah.
What should it do? What should it be? And how should it be utilized?
Okay, thank you. For vision, so again, I think part of the issue is we overcomplicate things. I like to keep it short and simple. So I always say KISS, keep it short and simple. If a 10-year-old doesn't understand it, then maybe it's too ambiguous. So the first thing is your vision is where you see yourself in X number of years. Where are you going? Vision is a picture you've painted in your mind, the founder of the business, and that's where they're trying to go to. The mission is why you exist. What is the company trying to do? What problem is it trying to solve? So the vision is, this is where we're trying to go to. So for example, with your law firm, our mission is to make life easier for clients in the law, with legal. The vision is we want to be the top 10 in 5 years, in 10 years. And then you walk there. Your vision is actually supposed to change so that when you get to where that picture, by then you have another vision.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Really?
So yes, your vision should change when you get there. The whole purpose is you're supposed to get there. Then what happens when you get there? You now come up with something else. Okay, I've gotten here. I'm number 2. I'm number 1 now. What next? It can even be a vision to make all my employees happy. That could be a vision. You know, so I think sometimes we overcomplicate it. Is really what is the picture you have in mind of what this company is supposed to look like? While the mission is what problem is it supposed to solve, and that why is the business existing? Really, that's what it's meant to be. I think you also mentioned something. One of the issues is that a lot of people, when they're even speaking about their vision and mission to employees, is they talk about themselves and why they started the business. They don't talk about or paint the picture of where the employee sees themselves in the company and the part they need to play. So it's like, oh, it's somebody else's vision. So sometimes they don't buy into it because they don't see themselves in it. So it's important that everyone, even up to the security guy, understands the vision and the part they have to play in making that vision come to fruition. So that's so important.
So that then speaks to the communicating part of it. So how do you sell the vision in a way that we connect with it? I was going to say to now take it a step further to the strategy, but I'll let the ladies go.
Oh, no, okay, well, I was coming there because, I mean, that was so insightful. So how do you now take deliberate steps to communicate this way? Because you just simplified it right there. And there was nothing complicated about that. So, but why is it complicated for people? Why is there a complication between communicating your vision and people being able to run with the vision?
So a couple of things. It's one thing to have the vision and to craft it. It's another thing to understand the environment you're working in. So part of the issue we have is we have some grand plan. We say this is what we want to do. So for example, in Nigeria, I say I want to start a beauty parlor and I want everybody to pay 5,000 naira. What is the economy saying? What is diesel saying? So many times part of the issue we have is we have this great plan, but is it realistic for the environment we are living in? Our target audience, do they understand it? Is that what they want? Is that the way they want it packaged? So we need to understand our environment. We need to understand the people that we're trying to sell to. We need to even understand the issues our employees and all face to be able to communicate. So sometimes the issue is it just doesn't make sense for our environment, or it's not the right time, or it's not the right packaging. So everything has to work together. It's more than just communicating it. If you're saying to someone, for example, another thing is, for those that travel abroad and all, they've gone on YouTube, they've seen something, then they bring it to someone who hasn't experienced it. How are they supposed to understand it? Yes, you haven't given them any customer experience, you haven't shown them a video. So you're just speaking over their heads. Yes, so it's important that they understand it and they buy into that vision and they see where they are. Another thing is, more than seeing where they are, how are they also going to grow? How is this going to benefit them? So it's important that people buy into that vision. So when you're explaining it, say, okay, this is where you play a part. If our business does well, this is how you would benefit from it. This is where I see you in 5 years. This is where I see you in 10 years. So you must carry everyone along. It's so important, and speak their language.
Thank you for sharing that. We're going to take a quick break. We'll pay a couple of bills and we'll be right back.
I like that.
So if you just tuned in, we are discussing business growth strategy, moving from vision to a successful operational structure with Ifeoma Monye. Please let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation, send us an SMS or WhatsApp on 0818-038-4663 or tweet at us at Waste Show Africa 1 with the hashtag Waste Show. So, Manny?
Yeah, so I'm going to come from the buying into the vision part. When we finished from school, we came out into the
real world.
The real world.
Like they used to say.
Yes, and we were looking for jobs and everything. Everybody wanted to work in Mobile, Chevron, Shell. Everybody had big dreams. So now we're talking about business, growing businesses. The people that come to work for smaller businesses, I believe they also had high hopes of working in Chevron and Shell. So now Chevron can't take everybody, Shell can't take everybody. They now have to come down to work somewhere before they get their dream jobs. So how do you get those people to buy into your vision when they already had eyes on the bigger targets?
On the prize.
Yeah.
So sometimes I think part of it is what we see it as competition, or people are trying to compete with the Mobile. Is to share why, again, going back to that whole mission, is to sell that dream, the reason why you started. There are many people out there, when I do interviews, they say, I want to give back, I want to work for an NGO. So it's to go back and say, look, I'm not, you don't even need to mention you're not a mobile or all that. This is what I'm here to do. This is the, this is what I'm trying to sell. This is why I'm trying to make Nigeria better, or the beauty industry, or the law, legal, and people, the right people will come. You're not trying to get everybody. You're trying to get the right people who will make your business grow and who will also grow from it as well.
Yes, because I watched, you know, when you watch different movies and you hear people talk, you just said something about NGO. There are actually people who want to work in NGOs because they want to make a difference. So they want to be part of something that is bigger than them. Yeah, so you said something just now about having the right people. So that's one of the challenges of this business and vision and missions. Because you think that the people, maybe the first people that come in
are the
right people, and it affects, it can affect a business owner when you have like a revolving door situation in your business. People come in and they leave because their eyes are set on something else and not yours. So I think it's very comforting to hear you say the right people. So meaning, even if it takes 10 years to look for your people, they will come, right?
Yes, but then again, a couple of other things. You need to also, if people are leaving, yes, we keep talking about Gen Z and not being able to sit down. There also might be an issue to say, okay, maybe I do have good intentions, but the people that are coming in are not staying. They might not be the right people, or there's something I'm doing that I'm not communicating that people are seeing the wrong way. So it's a bit of both. So you need to understand. Some people just want to stay for 5-6 months, put it on their CV. There's some companies that people just want to have on their CV and then leave. So it's to understand all that and say, okay, what are the ways I can get the right people to come and to stay? Sometimes, a lot of times we say in Nigeria it's all about money, but there are a lot of people where money is not even the motivation. You know, they want to, a lot of people want to feel valued. They want to see that they count. Do they have a say in the business? Do they have a say in how things run? Can they even say, oh, how do we improve stuff? So being able to have feel like a part owner of it is also important as well.
So I love that we've talked about the vision, we've talked about the people. Now let's move to how we actually do business, the strategy, which I think most entrepreneurs have a vision, they have a reason. Some people's vision is just to make money. But the strategy sometimes is, I find, where people also then get it wrong as well, because I often say, if your strategy is to grow, it's a very different approach from if your strategy is to be more efficient and save cost and save money. Either way, you affect your bottom line. It's just a very different way to go. So that's my own roadside definition when I try to explain what strategy is. But how do we get from that vision? So I've sold the vision. I now have the right people. How do I pick the right strategy for my business?
Fantastic question. So I'll give it a different way. Let's say I want to go to Abuja tomorrow. What is important when you're even doing your strategy? What are the resources you have and capabilities of your team? So I'll go back using the analogy of going to Abuja. There are different ways I can get to Abuja. I can walk, I can go by air, I can go by night bus, day bus. Again, all depends on my resources. How much money do I have? How much time do I have? Time is also a resource. Who are the people going with me? Is there a particular time I want? So you can have different strategies, but going back to your point is, what am I trying to achieve? Is there some time restraining factor? Is there a resource? So if I don't have enough money to go by air, maybe I'll go by bus, maybe I drive, you know, so these are all the different things you need to look at. So the strategy you will now choose depends on your current resources. Now, the issue most people make is they look at what they think they will get and plan their strategy based on that. But what are the current resources you have and the capabilities you have to be able to push the business in that direction? And then you create a strategy based on that. Now, you must also, like I mentioned, you can't just have a strategy based on what you think will happen or your intentions. You need to look at your environment. So we have what we call the pestle. You need to know what's happening in politics. In a day, your business can end just from a policy.
Absolutely.
So you need to understand government regulations, the politics around it, social, what is happening, how people even feel about your business. Is this something that's a taboo? Is it not? You need to understand that. What are the environmental laws or even things that are guarding your business, legal frameworks. So you need to understand all this, the economics of it. Do you need to borrow dollars? Do you need to get resources? So these are all the things that must go into your strategy. How are prices going to affect you? So part of what you had mentioned something earlier is you need to even have scenario planning. if I have to get certain raw materials from somewhere, and let's even say the East, and then because of sit at home or something, I can't get it. How am I going to be able to do it? So these are all the things you need to factor into the strategy. It's a moving document. So yes, you do have a document, but you must think of all the scenarios. What ifs? You have to think of risks. What if this happens? How am I going to be able to mitigate it? At what point do I say I stop? At what point will diesel get to before I know I have to close? So these are all the things you have to look at to say, this is what I have in, am I able to get a loan? Am I able to, do I have to work with what I have? And then you have different phases. Okay, in this phase, this is what I'll do. When I get to X amount, or again, it can be turnover, it can be number of staff, it can be number of years you've been in, then we move to the next stage. So all these things must go, you must think of all that.
Your goal is the same, your destination is the same, but your strategies
depends. Your resources, your capabilities, yes.
Based on current
realities.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Wow.
Is it, so this document is living, breathing. It also has the same challenge. I mean, I know PESTA, I know SWOT, but you've just made it very relatable in the way that you've communicated it. So I see the gap also. We've created this wonderful document. It's a 5-year plan, it's a 10-year plan.
How do you move from
exactly.
So
so
to
you have
reality?
that plan, and maybe for a new entrepreneur, you've done that. How do you start to build the structure? Because as you were speaking, I was hearing there's legal, so you have to have a legal team.
Right.
There's risk, you have to have a risk team. There's people, you got to have HR. But you may not have the resources for all of that. So how do you start to break it down into milestones where I can eventually get there?
On a small scale.
Yes, you don't necessarily have to have the people, but you have to have thought it through. You have to, for example, you don't need a lawyer. When in your business, no, don't worry. I'm not saying you don't need I'm not saying you don't need to go and hire a full-time lawyer. You can, for example, go to a firm, outsource it, or you get someone to do your legal documents and all that. But you don't have to necessarily even have HR at the beginning. Yes, in-house. Outsource as much as you can, especially in the beginning. But ensure that you have thought through it and that you have a plan for when certain things happen. Again, for structures, part of another thing that happens is that how we structure our businesses is also important. I'll give another example. I can't say that I'm fast, I'm doing a restaurant now, and I say I want to be cheap and fast. Then I'm set up like a fine dining restaurant, have staff, and it takes your process, everything must go with your endpoint. So the same way you can't say you want to do fine dining and then you're set up as a fast food. Everything, your organizational structure has to fit
and align.
Exactly. So that's a lot of a problem I see here, that we have some idea because we've seen someone do it a particular way. We start and try and do that, but I now say, but what you're trying to achieve is completely different. Why are you set up like this person? So we need to understand that also has to fit. So you have to have processes. For example, going back to the business, if you're doing something that's standard, how do you ensure that you keep getting the same product? You must have the same process. Let's say it's making bread. You have a process so that no matter who comes in, they are making the bread the same. We won't say today, oh, it's because of this person that made it. That's why it's like this. It has to be the same. Same thing I say, like even when you go to a bank, there's certain things that are in place. You've never gone to a bank and they say to you, oh, sorry, because this person is on leave.
We can't give you money. We cannot attend to you.
Certain processes must be in place that they don't even know who's back end or what is happening behind. It's the same product or service they are receiving.
What you just said is really true, because you go to some restaurants, you like their food, you go there like 2 months after, it does not taste the same, and they tell you the chef left. Like, really? The chef left? So imagine if like a business like
formula
Coca-Cola
yes
and this, they've been losing staff and we'll be drinking
different versions of Coke. You just touched on something. And I like the fact that I saw operations management somewhere in yours. So let's keep following this road that we're going on. So I like the example of the fast food restaurant. So if you think about the genesis, I think of the McDonald's story, how we got to the quick service restaurants. In every business, I believe there's a way to be more efficient. So when we start to look at, okay, I've documented the processes, which by the way, most people don't, which is the problem. But I've even documented the processes. How do I continue to improve? How do I look at where are my bottlenecks? How do we start to traverse that?
Fantastic. So you see, it's going back to also the employees as well. You're not going to be everywhere. You don't know what is happening. So for example, using the restaurant example, you don't know, you need to understand what happens when someone comes to order. What are they facing? So you have to go through the company and say, for each employee and each touch point, where are the issues? How can we do it better? So you need to have some sort of feedback mechanism that even the employees are able to say, look, we're doing it this way, but can we even do it in a better way? Or this is what I think, this is where we have an issue. So you must keep having that feedback to say, okay, this is how we can do it. Also customer surveys, know how can you improve, what is it they want. You're not going to always please everyone and you can't get everything, but you need to know what is important and what you're not going to compromise on.
Excellent.
Wow. So back to the employees, because that's where a lot of businesses have problem, and communication. So we have a lot of people, you have that vision, you probably have, like, let me take for example the fine dining, right? You have this setting that you want to portray in what you do, and you have all of, and you've probably trained your staff. This is how we set the table. This is the kind of ambience that I had a friend who once had a store, and she wanted the feel of when you come in from the heat of the sun and you come in, it's a cool environment. And every time she comes to her store, she finds out that the air conditioning is off, and the staff, and she's asking why, and she says, oh, I'm feeling cold. So, and even though you've communicated that, or for example in the fine dining where you want to set up, and then you come in, you see all different colors of chinaware, and these are training that you've had for your staff, but it seems that there's a miscommunication. How do you build a formidable system that continues to drive that vision that you have,
whether you're there or
you're there or not? Because we talked about the McDonald's, we talked about, you know, these people that have Coca-Cola, you know, those that have had this in place. But it seems like in the Nigerian context, it's very unique. The challenges within Nigeria, the people in Nigeria, is unique, and it's more difficult to achieve that here. So what are your thoughts towards that?
So two things I'll mention based on what you said. The first one is the reward system and motivation. I'll come back to that. But again, it's important your staff have, your employees have that experience. I'll give you, going back to like fine dining, I was watching a documentary once on Claridge's. Now, every single staff member of theirs spends a weekend in Claridge's as a customer.
Having experience.
So they know, they feel, they go through what the customer expectation is. That way they understand what they need to deliver. So sometimes they don't know any better. So if they haven't experienced it, they don't know. So the lady that has this issue, has she ever thought about buying her staff a cardigan?
Thank you. That's exactly what I was thinking when you were talking.
Maybe that's what she needs.
Do that. Yes.
So sometimes that's because they don't know any better. Maybe the lady hasn't had AC anywhere else all her life. So, and then, you know, so far has a new experience. So maybe gradually build her into it. But then going back to that, there's another thing is, in any society, I always say, look at us Nigerians. We keep saying, oh, Nigeria, everybody is broken down society. But we're the same Nigerians. When we go abroad, we don't have to behave. Why? Because the system works. If we go out of line, we will be punished. So it's the same thing you do in your company. There's a reward system and there's a penalty system. If you do this, X happens. And you ensure you follow through. But when there are no consequences, everyone does what they want. So it's important that you have a reward system and an incentive system so that you also motivate people to do the right thing. But at the same time, if they do the wrong thing, there's a penalty for it. That's so important, that everybody knows what is expected and what will happen if they don't do the right thing or they do it.
Being consistent.
Exactly.
Because there's one thing for you to put these
things in place, but follow through.
So you have to have a governance structure.
Yes.
But as with every great conversation that we have on this show, the time flies by really quick. So we're literally coming very quickly to the end of the show. I'd like you to just close off for us a couple of minutes. It's always what we can leave our viewers with. We've said a lot today, and sometimes paint by numbers is easy. So here's step 1, here's step 2, here's step 3. If you could just give us that very quickly, vision to structure to the end point.
Okay. I'll say, first of all, you have a vision. Why? And I'll say, question your vision. Why are you doing what you want to do? Like you said, sometimes, let's even be honest, it's money. I need money. Then the next question is there any other way you can do it without doing what you're doing? Because it's important to validate why you're doing what you're doing. So you come up with that vision. Realistically, how long do you think it will take you to get there? Then you also need to assess your current state. What do you have at this point? What are the resources available to you? What capabilities do you have? Do you even have the right skill set to be able to deliver on the product or service? That is so important. Then who are the people that you can that will attract? One thing I always say, if you have the right product or service, money will find you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's ensuring that you're not doing something because somebody else is doing it and making money. I always say if you don't even have an idea, first thing you will look is, where is there a problem that no one yet has solved? And then how can you come in there and fix it? But if you have a great idea, money will follow you. So it's ensuring that you have the right idea or service or product. Once you've come up with the vision, again, you don't even necessarily need, there are different toolkits now, especially with the online, you can find different free toolkits to help you. What are the different steps you need to take? Break it down. I always say break it down. So if you have a 5-year, 10-year. Another thing that we didn't really discuss, but and I want to focus on is ensure you know your target audience and your target market. Most times people feel because their family and friends like it, that people, then they start a business.
Yes.
So it's important that you validate that. Ask them, why do they like it? It's sometimes it's psychological, it just reminds them of something, or because it's you. So make sure you're fulfilling a need, and that no matter what, people will buy. So you need to know your target audience. You can't say something like women. What type of women? What age range? How much are they earning? Will their earnings, if they change, affect the business? So you need to validate all these things. Is your business only on the island? Is it only in Lagos? Is it only in Nigeria? So you need to go drill down and look at it and say, truly, is this person my client or not? Who is not your client? It's also important to know who's not your client. Many times we try to serve everybody. So you need to know, no, this person is not my client. So that when they come to you, you can nicely and graciously say, sorry, I'm not able to serve you. It's really important. But most times, because we're trying to get the money, we're trying to serve other people, and then that could cause problems down the line. And you'll be like, I knew I shouldn't have gone for this person. So it's important you know who your target market is, and you're able to speak their language. You know their pain points, because that's what is important to be able to get them, because you understand their need. That's also important.
Wow.
And yeah,
I think you've taken us through a masterclass in business. So this is like a validation of that profile. But as we always say on Ways, we never let a fantastic guest go away without assuring them that we would love to have them back. So thank you. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you so much, Manny Money. Thank you so much, Noma. It's been an awesome, awesome conversation. But before we go, do ensure you follow us on Instagram at Ways Show Africa. You can interact with us further, drop a comment, and most importantly, follow all our social media engagements. Remember to like, share, comment, and please, please invite your friends and family to watch and follow us. So if you missed today's quote, here it is again. You must either modify your dreams or magnify your skills. It is Friday, so we will see you again on Monday at 8 p.m. as we bring another great conversation to your screen. Have a good evening.
For upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bookie November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the barbing, I pay my rent. On the barbing, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid.
And now, let's join ace broadcaster Mamode Akuga as he takes us inside the Niger Delta.
Hello out there and welcome to the program. It's Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region. I'm your regular host, Mamode Akuga. Having produced its presidential and vice presidential candidates, Nigeria's main opposition party, the People's Democratic Party, PDP, is set to stage a return to power in 2023. While the party acknowledges that winning the 2023 presidential election is a daunting task, it remains optimistic about victory in next year's election. To this end, the party will need to go into the elections as a united political family, as our correspondent now reports. Former Vice President of Nigeria, Atiku Abubakar, last month clinched the ticket of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, to contest the 2023 presidential election. Shortly afterwards, the choice of his running mate in the presidential race became a subject of wide speculations. Last week, the Waziri of Adamawa finally unveiled Delta State Governor Senator Ifeanyi Okowa as his running mate. Atiku's choice was made in consultation with the party's leadership, which nominated three candidates: Senator Ifeanyi Okowa of Delta State, Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State, and Governor Udom Emmanuel of Akwa Ibom State as possible running mates. The PDP presidential nominee admitted that it was a difficult task having to choose from the names recommended by his party, as they were all eminently qualified allies in his rescue mission. Finally, he had pronounced Senator Ifeanyi Okowa as a befitting running mate.
Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming to the ticket the next Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Governor Ifeanyi Arthur Okowa.
For his part, Senator Ifeanyi Okowa, who had to surmount several challenges and political hurdles to emerge as the running mate, is convinced that with the experience and political contacts at the disposal of Atiku Abubakar, victory in next year's election was already a mission accomplished.
We have produced a very experienced candidate who can take back Nigeria in a rescue mission and ensure that we are able to begin the rebuilding process of this nation right from May 29, 2023.
In its attempt to wrest power from the ruling APC, the PDP will have to go into next year's presidential election with unity of purpose. This will require the party to quickly set up a reconciliation committee to address grievances arising from its just concluded national convention and the selection process for a running mate to Atiku Abubakar. However, before this is done, Senator Ifeanyi Okowa needs to activate his personal fence-mending machinery and extend an olive branch to party members who are cross with him over his actions in the entire process leading to the PDP presidential primary. Prior to this time, Senator Ifeanyi Okowa had hosted Southern governors in Asaba, where it was collectively agreed that political parties should field presidential candidates from Nigeria's south to ensure power shift from the north. Unknown to his colleagues, Senator Okowa was nursing an ambition completely at variance with their collective agenda, which has proved successful. The action of Senator Ifeanyi Okowa, a former senator and secretary to the Delta State government, may not be out of place, as politics is essentially about self-interest. High-wire politicking and intense lobbying characterized the days leading up to the final selection of a running mate. While some party faithfuls wanted Governor Nyesom Wike to be named running mate due to his wide contacts in the party and political sagacity, others preferred Governor Okowa for his level-headedness and compatibility with Atiku Abubakar. For Governor Okowa, who remained calm all through the process, it appears he knew that Atiku Abubakar would prefer to go along with a man who helped him win the primaries than one that contested with him. Fortunately for Okowa and the PDP, Governor Nyesom Wike, who was at the vanguard of the campaign for power shift to the south, has vowed that he will remain in the PDP and contribute to his anticipated victory in the 2023 presidential election. It goes without saying, Governor Wike's disposition gives Senator Ifeanyi Okowa a soft landing in trying to calm frayed nerves in the PDP. For, as it is always said, there are neither permanent friends nor enemies in politics. What is paramount at all times is interest, which had played out in arriving at a joint presidential ticket for the PDP.
Inside the Niger Delta.
Reactions have continued to trail legal disputations on the propriety or otherwise of governorship primaries conducted by the All Progressives Congress APC across states in the Niger Delta. Our correspondent reports that the altercation is most resonant in Akwa Ibom State, where the APC have been precluded from the 2023 governorship election for an alleged breach of the Electoral Act 2022 as amended.
On the 26th of May 2022, APC delegates in Akwa Ibom State elected Obong Akan Udofia as the party's governorship candidate in the 2023 general elections. However, Udofia's victory may have been short-lived as the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, says it did not monitor the process as required by law in Section 83 of the Electoral Act 2022 as amended. In a report transmitted to the head office of INEC, the Commission's resident electoral commissioner in Akwa Ibom State, Barrister Mike Igini, averred that, I quote, "We wish to report that the APC governorship primary scheduled to hold on Thursday, May 26, 2022, at the Share Grace Arena in Sikak Eduk Avenue, Uyo, did not hold because the APC primary election committee did not come to the venue and did not hold primary in any other venue monitored by the Commission." End of quote. The implication of the report is that the APC will not be on the ballot in the 2023 Akwa Ibom governorship election, as the June 9 deadline for conclusion of primaries into elective offices has since elapsed. In his reaction to this development, Professor Chris Ekong, who was an APC governorship aspirant in Akwa Ibom State, faults the report of the INEC resident electoral commissioner.
Primaries were conducted and very well conducted. Something is amiss somewhere. But what I want to tell Akwa Ibom people is that they should forget that propaganda, that negative propaganda. Akwa Ibom APC has a candidate, and the candidate for Akwa Ibom APC is Mr. Kanodofia.
On the contrary, Barrister Victor Iyanam, a former Attorney General of Akwa Ibom State, maintains that the APC governorship primary did not hold as far as he is concerned.
12 o'clock of that day, and in fact, the following day, the materials which were brought in from Abuja to conduct the primaries were still with the SSS. So there were no primary elections.
In a related development, the emergence of architect Tunye Cole as the governorship candidate of the APC in Rivers State is being greeted with ill feelings. Last week, Bernard Miko, a governorship aspirant of the APC, filed a lawsuit against the presumed winner of the party's governorship primary and INEC on grounds that the process was fraught with irregularities. In agreement with Bernard Miko, an APC stalwart in Rivers State, Moses' salvation faults conduct of the party's governorship primary in the state.
The foundation of that primary was faulty ab initio. You cannot put something on nothing and expect it to stand. One, how did they get the delegates that voted in that primary when there was no Congress? And I'm telling you, I don't see APC on the ballot again in 2023.
The APC has been confronted with a protracted leadership crisis in Rivers State. In October 2021, the party produced 2 state chairmen in 2 parallel congresses. In the state, the factional chairmen are Golden Chioma and Emeka Bekee, both loyalists of Rotimi Amechi and Magnus Abe, who have been at daggers drawn over the years. While those rejecting the outcome of the just concluded APC governorship primary in Rivers State belong to the Golden Chioma camp, others are members of the Emeka Bekee camp. In his analysis of the crisis rocking the APC in Rivers State, Darlington Wauju insists that Emeka Bekee is the authentic chairman of the APC in Rivers State who was given the nod to conduct the just concluded primaries by the national leadership of the party. According to Wauju, those crying foul had participated in the congresses that produced delegates who elected Tony Cole as APC governorship candidate in Rivers State.
The primaries or the nomination exercise that led up to the emergence of delegates for the governorship primaries was supervised by a team from Abuja. A committee went ahead to even screen those who are today complaining about the processes that led up to that threw up the governorship flag bearer of the party. They were screened on the 19th day of May 2022. It's on record.
While Senator Ovie Omoagege, the consensus governorship candidate of the APC in Delta State, has no opposition to contend with, his counterpart in the PDP, Right Honorable Sheriff Oborewori, is currently in the eye of the storm. Olorogun David Edewie, a former chief of staff who contested the PDP governorship primary in Delta State, has since filed a suit in court challenging the process leading to Oborewori's emergence as the party's flag bearer. In the suit, Edewie contends that the PDP constitution was violated in the conduct of the state congress and prayed the courts to restrain the party from submitting Oborewori's name to INEC as its flag bearer. These are indeed intriguing events for spectators in the political arena who keep wondering how they will eventually pan out as the 2023 general elections inch closer.
Inside the Niger Delta.
Azikil Group, oil and gas, dredging, power and air transportation. Azikil Group, petroleum product sufficiency, energy sustainability and infrastructure development. Everything home, all in one place. Visit Home Options today at 22 Aba Port Harcourt Express Road, Port Harcourt, Rivers State, or call 080-998-08678 or 080-331-34055 or visit our website www.homeoptionsng.com.
Youths in the Niger Delta have lent their voice to the call on the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to extend its ongoing continuous voters registration exercise billed to end on the 30th of June 2022. Speaking in Port Harcourt, the River State capital, the concerned youths expressed fears that they might not be able to obtain their permanent voters card to enable them vote in the forthcoming 2023 general elections, given the many hiccups so far encountered in the process.
After suspending its online pre-registration exercise last month, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, established designated registration centers nationwide to enable citizens obtain their permanent voters cards and become eligible to vote in the forthcoming 2023 general elections in Nigeria. Since then, the turnout of intending voters at the various registration centers across the 23 local government areas of Rivers State has been massive. However, the intending voters, most of whom are youths, have expressed concern over the tardy process of getting registered. In almost all the registration centers, those willing to vote in next year's general elections have to wait for several hours to get registered, a situation that is blamed on inadequate logistics and manpower provided by INEC.
The system is very slow, and they think it's about two systems that the INEC people came with. And the crowd there is very much. I want to plead with INEC either to extend the registration dates and also bring in more system for people to be able to register for the PVC and get a PVC for election for next year.
There should be more computers and more printers. 200 people can't be making use of one printer. It is not funny.
Others who spoke to Inside the Niger Delta admitted that they did not bother to cast their votes in previous elections out of ignorance. In their quest for a new deal in governance this time, the youths have decided to use the power of the ballots to decide who governs them.
I've been trying since, but it's always crowded. So I came very early today to do it. I want to vote this time around. I want my vote to count. I've never really voted before.
When contacted, Head of Voter Education and Publicity Department of INEC in Rivers State, Mark Osulo, said the commission was making efforts to address the concern of intending voters in the 2023 general elections.
The commission made it as a policy that we use offline mode machines to get to the rural areas so that we can contain the problems of network failures and all what's not. And therefore that we've deployed more machines to the local government areas to help reduce the upsurge.
Nigeria's Electoral Act 2022, as amended, requires INEC to end voters' registration at least 60 days before an election. Believing that INEC still has ample time to get as many intending voters as possible registered ahead of the 2023 general elections, the anxious youths in Rivers State are calling the nation's electoral umpire to extend the ongoing continuous voters registration exercise beyond the 30th June 2022 deadline.
Inside the Niger Delta.
Some close observers of a recent event in the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, have called on those agitating for immediate appointment of a new NDDC board in the midst of ongoing reforms in the commission to have a rethink. The call is hinged on the need to fully implement recommendations of the NDDC Forensic Audit Report to enable the Commission improve on its service delivery to largely backward communities in the Niger Delta, as correspondent Tekana Miofori reports.
At a recent webinar hosted by the NDDC, Interim Administrator of the Commission, Dr. Effiong Akwa, appealed to Niger Deltans agitating for immediate constitution of a new board to be patient with the President Buhari administration, which he said was working tirelessly to revamp the commission, whose service delivery had been compromised by official sleaze. In the appeal, the NDDC boss observed that it was imperative to deal with the can of worms revealed by the NDDC forensic audit to allow for a more conducive environment for the incoming board to operate. In a swift reaction, some groups, notably the Center for Human Rights and Anti-Corruption, had accused the NDDC of playing to the gallery, while demanding that President Buhari should immediately appoint a board cleared by the Senate since 2019. In the final report of the NDDC forensic audit submitted to the presidency in September last year, it was observed that over 13,000 NDDC projects awarded over a period of 17 years, which did not follow due process, had been abandoned. In their response, two concerned Niger Deltans, Choma Aharoka and Ben Odon, maintained that while a new board was desirable to pilot affairs of the NDDC, it would be more profitable to address problems created by previous governing boards of the Commission.
It's better the forensic audit report be dealt with to a logical conclusion before setting up a new board. Because if it is not handled, things will still go the same way, and it will not be good for the Niger Delta and for the board, the NDDC board.
With the Niger Delta people, we can no longer wait to see this audit being implemented to the letter. No matter who and who that will be involved, that has reaped us of our blessings, God-given blessings, such persons should be brought to book.
In August 2019, President Buhari appointed the Pius Odubu-led NDDC board, but later kept it in abeyance, having realized it was wrongly constituted. According to Choma Aharoka, there is more to calls on Mr. President to appoint a new board than meets the eye.
Some persons that might be part of this constitution of the board might be the same persons they must have used to loot the good people of the Niger Delta through this NDDC. So, in my own view, I am saying the federal government should not be in a hurry, as it is now, to constitute another board, so that the board will not come and protect the interests of those who might be or may have been indicted by the audit committee.
For the first time since the NDDC was established in 2000, the Buhari administration in October 2019 ordered a forensic audit of its activities to investigate alleged cases of malfeasance, preventing the Commission from carrying out its statutory mandate to transform the Niger Delta into an economically prosperous and politically stable region. Proponents of ongoing reforms in the NDDC want the federal government to sanitize the Commission and possibly review its Establishment Act before appointing an invigorated board that is fully empowered to carry out effective and efficient service delivery to blighted communities in Nigeria's Niger Delta region.
Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, making a difference.
Inside the Niger Delta.
3 months after he was awarded Philanthropist of the Year by the independent newspaper, Daniel Omoyibo, popularly known as Damotek, was last week Saturday awarded an honorary doctorate degree of science by the Federal University of Petroleum in Efuru, Delta State. Daniel Omoyibo, who is Chief Executive Officer of Damotek Limited, an oil and gas company, has been in the petroleum business for almost 3 decades. A philanthropist who has generated so much employment through his companies in Delta State, he is considered by many as very, very deserving of the honorary doctorate degree.
The University of Petroleum Resources, Efuru, Delta State, at its 3rd convocation ceremony, conferred honorary doctorate awards on outstanding Nigerians who have contributed to the growth and development of the petroleum industry. Daniel Elizino Omoyibo, Chief Executive Officer of Damotek Oil and Gas, was one of the awardees. Damotek Oil and Gas Limited, a wholly indigenous company, is a major employer of labor and has built capacity in the industry through its operations. As Chancellor of the University of Petroleum Resources, His Royal Majesty Oba Babatunde Adewale Ajayi, the Akarigbo of Remo, Ogun State, affirmed at the recent convocation ceremony, the awards were reserved for Nigerians who had contributed immensely to the growth of the petroleum industry.
I'm delighted to congratulate our honorary awardees today. Your touring profile scaled through a systematic way of identifying and recognizing distinguished Nigerians from diverse walks of life.
Daniel Omoyibo, popularly known as Damotek, a major employer of labor in the Niger Delta, who has successfully managed over 8 companies, is also a philanthropist of repute. His pet project, Damotek Foundation, is dedicated to the socio-economic emancipation of the downtrodden in society. In the last few years, Damotech Foundation has vigorously embarked on scholarship awards and economic empowerment for the less privileged in Delta State and other parts of the Niger Delta. Comrade Ovozorie Macaulay, a former secretary to the Delta State government, and Duncan Afako, a legal practitioner, describe Engineer Omoyibo's philanthropy in the Niger Delta as unrivaled.
He deserves the award, and even more than that, he has used his resources to empower people beyond even his own immediate locality. I can't remember anybody who has contributed more than him in the area of human capital development.
Damotech, as we used to call him, is a dangerous giver that has affected the life of the common man, especially in Isoko nation, be it in the academics, the downtrodden, and a broad spectrum of areas that he has invested on.
In addition to his unrivaled philanthropic activities, Damotech, patron of the Directors Guild of Nigeria, is a mentor to many, including his immediate family and employees. His daughter, Joan Omoyibo, a beneficiary of his mentorship, is particularly impressed with his charitable outlook on life.
I'm very impressed. Everything he has been doing, it's been great. And I want to thank God for this opportunity, for blessing him enough to bless others.
In recognition of his industry and selfless service to humanity, the Independent newspaper in March this year named Engineer Omoyibo Philanthropist of the Year. For the Isoko-born oil mogul and philanthropist, the many accolades would only serve to encourage him to do more.
I am happy for them to recognize or to know what I've been doing as a philanthropist or what I've been doing for humanity. With this, if I am doing good, I will make sure I continue and improve on it the more because of this honor that will bestow on me today.
Damotech later supported the University of Petroleum Resources with the sum of 70 million naira, with a promise to employ 4 graduating engineers from the institution.
On behalf of Damotech Foundation, I'm going to support your project with 70 million naira.
A major player in the hospitality industry, Damotech is also Chief Executive Officer of Dantinajo Gold Resort, a 5-star hotel located at Ole in Isoko South local government area of Delta State. He is currently building a film village at Ole as part of his contribution to the growth and expansion of the entertainment industry, which has great potentials for economic diversification and growth in Nigeria.
Inside the Niger Delta.
Well, with that report, we'll draw the curtain on the program. Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region, will be back same time, same station next week. Until then, you can follow us on our social media handles showing right now on your screen. And please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at NDNTV Nigeria. Until next week, I am Mahmoud Akuga thanking you for staying tuned. And bye for now.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the barbing, I pay my rent. From the barbing, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid.
And Plus TV News now. Supreme Court strikes out Buhari's suit challenging Section 84, subsection 12 of Electoral Act. Ahmed Lawan, David Umahi, Gatsula Pabio, others missing from INEC candidates list. Commonwealth leaders meet in Rwanda amid criticism of host nation. Hello and welcome. Good evening, I'm Tolu Ojomi, and this is the news now. The Supreme Court today struck out President Muhammadu Buhari and the Attorney General of the Federation suit challenging 84 section, subsection 12 of the Electoral Act. The case was expunged on the grounds that it lacked the jurisdiction to entertain the suit and is an abuse of court process. Earlier, a notice for the judgment delivery was served on President Buhari and the National Assembly yesterday, inviting them to appear before the court today for the judgment. Meanwhile, INEC today released the list and particulars of candidates vying for several positions at the federal level in the 2023 general elections. The names of Senate President Ahmed Lawan, David Umahi, and Gatsula Pabio were obviously missing from the list. In the meantime, the PDP in Osun State has accused the ruling APC of planning to cause unrest to rig the July 16 governorship election in the state. The main opposition party in the state vowed to resist any form of antics of the ruling party to manipulate or rig the election. The chairman of the Caretaker Committee, Osun PDP, Dr. Akintele Adekunle, while briefing journalists at the party's secretariat in Osogbo, urged the heads of security agencies and other relevant international communities to ensure a strict compliance with the electoral law before, during, and after the election.
As lovers of peace, credible polls, and democratic government, we urge President Muhammadu Buhari, Inspector General of Police, Director of DSS, Nigerian Army, and other law enforcement agencies, and by extension, international community, to warn the ruling APC now before it is too late. This is because the PDP and the entire masses of Osun State will resist the ruling party in its entirety, so that the strong political will of the people will be established and maintained.
The Re-Election Campaign Council of Osun governorship candidate of the APC has urged the EFCC to investigate the candidate of the PDP, Ademola Adeleke. The council bemoaned Adeleke over his comment that it would induce voters before and during the forthcoming governorship election in the state. Addressing a press conference, the Director General, Senator Ajibola Bashir, said it's an offense for an individual to have declared publicly to financially induce the electorate. He added that Adeleke needed to be investigated and prosecuted by the EFCC to stop him from compromising the electoral process and fledgling democracy.
Certainly, inducement of voter is a criminal offense. So for somebody to manifestly declare an intention to induce a voter, it warrants a criminal investigation by the EFCC. So I think EFCC doing their job should summon him, let him explain what he meant that he has brought pounds sterling to be able to do so. So I think that clearly is an indication of a manifest intention to commit the offense of inducement of voter, which is clearly an electoral offense under the Nigerian law. So for people to go around and be attacking billboards is an act of uncivil nature. It's an act that touch and undermine the order of the state. Do you want to create an atmosphere of an ungovernable state because you are aspiring to lead the state? Certainly.
Emmanuel Ambrose Amawe has been nominated as a PDP candidate for the position of Deputy Governor of Cross River State. This was disclosed in a letter addressed to the National Secretary, PDP, by the State Chairman of Vetted News, INEC today. Mrs. Emmanuel Ambrose Amawe comes with a high pedigree. INEC noted that in arriving at the decision, they had taken into consideration geopolitical spread, ethnic and political balancing, and even gender sensitivity. Meanwhile, INEC in Ogun State is happy with the turnout of eligible citizens during the fourth quarter of continuous voter registration in the state. The resident electoral commissioner, Niyi Ijalai, appreciated major stakeholders for their support.
I think the sensitization by the public, the INEC, and also the political parties must have contributed to this. Sincerely, the people who are now out to register are within the young age brackets. The young people are now more aware than before. I think it's good for the system, very good for the system, because there was this apathy amongst them in time past, but they seem to have woken up from their slumber, and I think it is indeed desirable.
Meanwhile, some of the citizens who are yet to enroll complained about the slow process, even as REC assured them that more machines have been deployed to the state, while appealing to those who had registered to come for the PVCs.
I don't understand the way things are going, because I've been here since around 7 and this is after 11. So there's nothing I can write home about for now. What they told us is when situations are like this, that it is maybe the network, that either the network is busy or the network is not good. So that is why I'm here waiting, patiently waiting for the network.
So people have been here since 7, 6:30, and they start by 9. So you have to come early to start picking numbers. I came by 7:30, I'm number 48, so they should try to make it easy online.
As a matter of fact, we deployed more IVED machines all over the country, inclusive of Ogun State. I was at Abuja last week for a meeting. The resident electoral commissioners had a meeting with the with the chairman of INEC, and this was what we discussed again. That because of this surge, more machines were deployed all over the country. more IVED machines, so such that every eligible registrant is captured.
Now, a quick visit to Benue State. Herdsmen attacks have resumed there in certain communities, and Governor Samuel Otom has challenged those who believe his administration erred in enacting the open grazing prohibition and ranches establishment law to speak against it publicly and see the reaction of the people. Governor Otom threw the challenge in Makati after receiving the award of Best Governor in Nigeria in the area of security by the Daily Independent newspaper and other awards. According to the governor, the law, which was enacted as a solution to the perennial clashes between herdsmen and farmers, has the backing of traditional and religious leaders, Christians and Muslims alike, and other stakeholders who have all remained resolute that the law should not be repealed. He emphasized that no matter the level of intimidation, harassment, attacks, and deprivation, his government will continue with the full implementation of the law, saying that those who were thinking of coming to repeal the law were only daydreaming.
Our displaced people who are in INEC camp, they are really heroes because each time I interface with them and try to probe their minds to see if I'm going the right direction or doing the right thing, they tell me they are not discovered. That whatever the Fulanis want to do, by killing them and occupying their lands, if the federal government wants, they should continue to support them to continue to kill us, and we will never surrender our land to Fulanis. And the amazing thing that even the small children, the children, both boys and girls, they have told me that our governor, right up, we support you with our prayers. And so I'm not intimidated by anyone. I remain committed, and nothing will shake me. And any dreamer who thinks that he will come here and repeal the prohibition of open grazing and provision for ranching law is just dreaming in the day.
He then advised the people to take an advantage of the ongoing voter registration exercise by INEC to regularize PVCs to be able to elect leaders who would represent their interest in the next general elections.
We encourage our people to get ready with their PVC. When that time comes for election, we will also tell them, because getting PVCs and not participating in the election will not help. We will tell you the right thing to do, because we must rescue this country by all means, and it will require all of us to work together to ensure that we rescue the country. This country belongs to all of us, and our constitution must be respected and obeyed. On that we stand. We are law-abiding people, but our being law-abiding should not be taken for granted. This country must be rescued by all of us. Those of you who are keeping quiet, it will soon knock on your door.
At least 22 people have been kidnapped in a community within Abuja following an attack by gunmen. Confirming the assault, police authorities and the FCT said today that the attack took place within Rafin Daji, a boundary community between Niger State and the FCT. Acting FCT police spokesman Oduniyo Mota said the gunmen attacked the community at the time farmers were cultivating their farmland. Similarly, gunmen today earlier attacked a police area command office at Eka Oizen in Okeye local government area of Kogi State, killing an officer, Mr. Jibber, popularly known as Yellow. The Commissioner of Police, Kogi State Command, Edward Igbuka, visited the scene of the attack for an on-the-spot assessment. He immediately ordered the deployment of additional operational assets consisting of operatives of a police mobile force, counter-terrorism unit, quick response unit, state intelligence bureau, in synergy with other security agencies to restore normalcy to the area. The NDLEA Kano State Command says it has seized 12,611.656 kilograms of illicit drugs and arrested 1,887 suspects from July 2021 to June 2022. The NDLEA Kano Commander, Mr. Abubakar Idris Ahmed, disclosed this while addressing newsmen on Friday in Kano to mark UN International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Drug Trafficking. He noted that during the period, out of 12,611.656 kilograms of illicit drugs seized, 9,735.004 kilograms was cannabis sativa, while 2,875.223 kilograms were psychotropic substances. In the same vein, the Ogun State Command of the NDLEA today said it arrested 99 suspects with a total of 7,889.03 kilograms of illicit drugs from January to June. Ishaku Kwafaja, the commander of NDLEA in the state, made a disclosure at a program organized to mark this year's United Nations International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking. The theme of the event is addressing drug challenges in health and humanitarian crises. He said the suspects comprised 80 males and 19 females. He added that the command also seized 82,766 tablets of assorted psychotropic substances and 17.3 liters of codeine. Furthermore, the commander explained that the command counseled 34 clients and convicted 21 offenders during the period under review. Let's get to Nasarawa State now. The government has inaugurated the round 2 seasonal chemo prevention campaign on malaria to tackle the disease across the 13 local government areas of the state. The State Commissioner for Health, Pharmacist Ahmed Yahya, discussed this in Lighthearted today during a media parley aimed at sensitizing residents of the state on how to tackle the disease. While a clean environment is necessary for good health and to curb diseases, this was underscored by the Nigerian Conservation Foundation when it took its sanitation campaign to the Lasamaja community in Lagos. Details in this report.
The rainy season is here again, and it comes with blocked drainages and other environmental issues. The Nigeria Conservative Foundation believes in catching them young as it takes this campaign to Iriakari Primary School in Ilasamaja. Head Environmental Education NCF Abidemi Balogun says the exercise, which is part of their Clean Our World project, seeks to sensitize the community, especially on proper waste management, and ensure a healthy environment.
We need to catch them young. This has been a phrase word for NCF because we do environmental education. We involve the young children. We try to engage them as early as possible because they need to be environmentally responsible adults. And if we don't start now, when do we want to start? So we try to start with them at the young age so that they can see it. It will be a part of their way of life, so it's not strange to them. When they are involved, they get to be creative, they get to try hands-on, they get to be involved, they get to be carried along, they get to take responsibility for their environment.
Passionately, volunteers, community members and students alike take joy carrying out the task. So, what can be done during this rainy season in a coastal city such as Lagos? The organizers speak on the need to clear the drainages during this rainy season while encouraging people to make environmental sanitation a regular exercise for the community.
Even though we don't have enough drainages, the one that we have, let's keep it open so that the waters can flow easily, because if they don't, water will always find its way, and if the passage is blocked, if the water channels are blocked, they will come into the house and it will be economic loss, earth loss. We want to encourage everybody to make sure that they are not dumping their waste inside the gutter. They should package their waste properly. If we don't do this, the effects will be catastrophic. So we need to take action immediately.
What we are trying to build on
on this project is trying to create awareness in these children and ensure that they do the right thing and develop this environmental consciousness at the end of the day.
Let them make sure that at least people live in an hygienic environment, so they have been doing it. So, and there is a welcome development. So it makes the environment to be clean. Even the people in the community, they cherish it a lot. So they cherish it a lot. So they have come out en masse to join us in doing the cleanup.
The NCF believes that coming to the community is necessary in order to keep the children healthy.
As Nigeria joins the rest of the world to mark International Widows' Day, a group, Widows and Orphans Support Society of Africa, WOSA, has celebrated widows with a renewed call to ensure financial independence for them. Founder of WOSA, Dr. Tayo Thomas, also condemned the untold hardship these women go through. Oyemi Afia tells us more.
June 23rd every year has been set aside by the United Nations to bring the front burner issues affecting these vulnerable women in order to safeguard and protect their rights. For these women, the devastating loss of a partner is magnified by a long-term fight for their basic rights and dignity. Despite the fact that there are more than 258 million widows around the world, widows have historically been left unseen, unsupported, and unmeasured in our society. Dr. Taiwo Thomas is the convener of this support group. He offers solutions to achieving sustainable financial independence for widows in Nigeria. The organizers believe that the women need to acquire relevant skills in order to be empowered.
This can be achieved by getting the widows empowered. Like WOSA, we do skills acquisition for widows. And when that is done, we empower them with some money to start. Then along the line, we create a cooperative for them to build up their business. And along the line, we also create a microfinance support to expand their business. By so doing, they will be independent, they will be able to cater for their children, and we will have less problem of widows having issue in Nigeria.
These women need empowerment. If you give somebody fish, you don't expect that person to come back to you again. But if you teach the person how to catch the fish, the person will become responsible and independent and be able to take care of himself or herself. So these women actually need skills and financial assistance to help them stable.
Experience has shown that widows are often denied inheritance rights, have their properties grabbed after the death of a partner, and can face extreme stigma and discrimination. We got a chance to speak to some of the widows who have a lot to say about their unfavorable living conditions.
I lost my husband as a widow. It is not easy. I will tell you the truth, it's not easy. To become a widow for 2 hands, later become 1 hand, is not easy.
WOSA has been so helpful to us, for our children, and he extends love to orphanage too, apart from the widows. So he has been so helpful. In fact, I cannot even quantify him. I mean, the way he does things for the widows. He gives welfare, he gives cash, and so many other things.
Programs and policies for ending violence against widows and their children, poverty alleviation, education, and other support are encouraged, especially in the context of action plans to accelerate achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. Uyime Elijah, Plus TV News.
TV host Fumi Yoda invited friends and family to a watch party for the season 2 of our newly introduced TV show, Public Eye. The party, which was hosted in Lagos for the appraisal of the TV show, had in attendance veteran TV and radio broadcaster Lekon Gubanwo, a famous Nigerian blogger, Linda Ikeji, TV host Adenrele Edun, and a host of others. Our correspondent Paul George was there. Report.
The hall was filled with friends and family, young entrepreneurs, journalists, and the brother and sister of the victim of the Lagos State Bus Rapid Transit, the late Bamishe Anyanwola, on whose story one of the episodes of Public Eye centers on. The quintessential storyteller Funmi Inyada wasted no time in welcoming everyone as she took the audience through the journey into the birth of Public Eye.
I wanted to come here to have sort of like an intimate evening with friends and family and people I've also met in the course of Public Eye. And so it's a pleasure to see you all here. At the time that I started my career, I was also just very young. I was in my 20s. Sometimes we talk about our country and we talk about the things that are wrong with it, as we should. I can also see the things that are improving in spite and because of the actions and all of us, which is what Public Eye is about.
She also stated that it was high time Nigerians came together in their diversity to build the society.
So beyond talking about how horrible things have been, it's now what exactly can we actually do about it? Who should be doing what? What can we do to ensure that they do it?
One of the special guests, Ogumbanwo, encouraged the audience and Nigerians at large to do the right thing at all times and be responsible for their actions in order to build a society we can all call our own.
What kind of stories do we want to tell? What is the purpose of telling the story? We first have to acknowledge the good things before we keep pointing out the other things that we need to change. It's not just government. The average person in this room may forget, and it is human to forget, to renew your vehicle particulars. Be ready to pay the fine.
Adinrele Edun, alongside other invited guests, admired the skill of Inyada's storytelling as the shower encomium on her.
I always have this to say about the media mogul and messiah that I call Funmi Inyada. Auntie Funmi Inyada, because she's not my mate. I was inspired and motivated by how she was constantly changing the narrative and she was rewriting the story of media and also giving us stories from a different perspective. Where do I even start from? Mama, you are ageless, you are timeless, you are flawless, you are stainless, you are spotless. Bogwe, take all your flowers. In short, you don't even need flowers, you own the garden.
She is keeping abreast of the story to tell us that he shouldn't die because the safety of Lagosians and every one of us is at stake here. She wants the public to take 1 or 2 lessons from this.
She's real, she's true, she's inspiring, she's humble, she is beautiful, and above all, she's blessed.
In the world we live in today, journalism and new media, it's very, very tempting to go after like flashy, entertainment, fun stories, but it's still important to make sure that ordinary people's stories of justice and injustice and the way Nigerians live are told. And Funmi has always made that the core of her career. She's always wanted to highlight how regular, everyday Nigerians are living and growing and managing themselves in the society we live in. So it's really, really amazing and inspirational to see that she has continued to do that with Public Eye.
Guests at the event were treated to a light entertainment, even as Public Eye Season 2 goes on air. Paul George, Plus TV News.
Nigeria can rely on technology to grow her economy, but the federal government must create the enabling environment for technology-driven businesses to thrive. This was the consensus at IoT West African Network Conference and Exhibition. Our correspondent, Lavi Kukwedokun, reports.
These are young men and women breaking grounds in the technology space and ready to do more. Exploring and highlighting game-changing technologies, dazzling innovations is the next move through this conference.
There's a gradual build-up. We're not talking about very, very sophisticated stuff here. We're just talking about guys building technologies that will allow Iya Mohammed to just manage her small shop and receive payments and track who owes her what. Do you understand me? So that technologies are enabling that and they're becoming cheaper and more accessible.
The tech skills you acquire today will be there for life. But the oil you have today, for instance, if you put diesel in your generator, you use it after some hours or some days. But the skill that you put into yourself will last for you forever.
We just have it in us that we want to solve problems, we want to find legitimate means to make ends meet, and there are a lot of problems that could be solved in the area of telecom, in the area of commerce, in the area of education that people are trying to solve. So in the next 10 years, we're going to see a lot of investment, we're going to see a lot of innovative solutions coming in.
Stakeholders praise the Nigerian entrepreneurial spirit in the youths, though express concern about the safety of the cyberspace.
Government actually needs to encourage the industry players to group themselves into specific groups or into professional groups that can be easily accessed, that they can have a conversation in. Okay, government wakes up today. We want to come up with a regulatory framework for IoTs in Nigeria. Where are the people?
It's actually can be achieved by collective responsibility of everybody, and everybody to understand that it's very important for us to learn how to stay safe in the cyberspace. So we are actively collaborating with schools, secondary schools, universities, in order to create this awareness and for people to understand how they need to stay safe in the cyberspace, and how companies' data, how they can protect their privacy and the rest of them.
They hold strongly that technology holds the future of Nigeria's economy with the right framework in place.
Oil will not always be there, but technology will be there. Just like power is relevant today, technology will be relevant tomorrow.
The 3-day conference organized by Internet of Things, IoT, has industry innovators sharing expertise on emerging trends to guide the West African technology users to the right digital transformation. From Lagos, Live Ikuku Oyedoku, Plus TV News.
We move now to Delta State, where Governor Ifeanyi Okowa has said the state government is standing as guarantee for oil palm farmers in the state to get a 25 billion naira loan from the CBN. The governor made this statement while speaking to newsmen shortly after an inspection tour at the Denis Osadebe University, Asaba. He noted that the role of the state government as regards the loan was to guarantee the farmers and also ensure CBN that the farmers are credible enough to pay back at the appropriate time.
Considering the issue of the 25 billion loan, it's not a direct loan to the state government. So it's unfortunate. That's why they need to be informed. And if they listen in the House of Assembly, when such things go, we follow due processes. We have to process it, go through our economic team, because we have an economic team. And when we satisfy what is going on, we'll go through ESCO and then eventually go to the House of Assembly. We're only like a guarantor to the private farmer, that is the farmers, the oil palm farmers in the state. That's exactly what is going on. The loan is to the farmers, where the state is acting as a guarantor to them. In Akwa Ibom State, in Edo State, they've gone even further than we have done in terms of borrowing, by borrowing something much more than that. But this particular loan is from the CBN to the Oil Palm Farmers Association in Delta State for the development of about 17,700 and something hectares of oil palm, and it's going to be monitored. But somebody needed to guarantee it for them.
Still to come, Tunisia judges embark on 3-week strike. There's some more after the short break. Please stay with us.
Life can be fun and rewarding, but it also comes with some risk. As in business, you win some, you lose some. And that's why you need to be wise in the choices you make. It's like placing a bet. Again, you need to be wise. Wise in choosing an innovative platform with the highest market options and highest odds ever. That's why Winners Golden Bet, the leader in online, in-shop, virtual, and live sports betting, gives you enhanced platforms that offer you the best chances of winning. for betting on live soccer matches, live dog races, and virtual games. Winners Golden Bet is your best bet. Instant payment of winnings guaranteed. Play online or in any of our numerous shops nearest to you.
Hey guys, be wise. Play on Winners Golden Bet.
Winners Golden Bet, the wise choice.
Thanks very much indeed for staying with us. We'll now get to other parts of Africa. Commonwealth leaders have met in the Rwandan capital, that's Kigali. They met today to discuss cooperation on topics from trade and health to climate. It's against a backdrop of criticism of host Rwanda's human rights record and of a British policy to deport asylum seekers there. The Commonwealth encompasses about a third of humanity and presents itself as a network of equal partners with shared goals such as democracy, peace, and prosperity. Rwandan President Paul Kagame paid tribute to Queen Elizabeth, who is the head of the Commonwealth, in a speech at the opening ceremony. Rwanda joined in 2009.
We join together to pay tribute to Her Majesty the Queen, the head of the Commonwealth, and its most devoted champion. Over her 70 years of service, the Commonwealth has grown both in number and in the scope of its ambition.
In the same vein, Commonwealth Secretary General Patricia Scotland and Rwandan President Paul Kagame welcomed leaders at the opening ceremony of the Commonwealth Heads of Government Summit in Kigali today, shaking hands and posing for photographs with Britain's Prince Charles and British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, among others. The summit is being attended by 29 heads of states and governments. The other 25 member states, including South Africa, India, Pakistan, Australia, and New Zealand, sent delegations led by ministers or diplomats. Tunisian judges have been on strike for 3 weeks. They are protesting against President Kais Said's decision to sack 57 judges on corruption grounds and claim the leader's move is an additional example of his power grab. Protesters have submitted a request for a meeting with the head of state, but they say no answer has been given yet. Kais Said summoned the Minister of Justice at the beginning of the month of June to ask for the suspension of the salaries of striking judges. Somali President Hassan Sheikh Mohammed today confirmed that he had tested positive for COVID-19 after returning from a 2-day working visit to the United Arab Emirates. Mohammed said in a tweet that he had no symptoms, but he would continue to self-isolate and serve the people of Somalia from his home. The president, who was elected on May 15, called on all Somalis to keep one another safe by following public health advice and guidelines aimed at containing the spread of COVID-19. Some members of the president's delegation had earlier tested positive for COVID-19 during their stay in Dubai. Namibia and Germany today signed a financial cooperation agreement that will provide about $170 million in a loan on favorable terms to support economic development in Namibia. A joint statement by the two governments said the loans will be used to fund the Namibia Water Sector Support Program, which aims to implement new water projects to improve access, quality, and sustainability of water supply and sanitation in Namibia. Let's get outside Africa now. The U.S. Supreme Court has overturned the Roe v. Wade opinion that has secured constitutional protections for abortion in the U.S. for nearly 50 years now. The milestone ruling, a draft of which was leaked last month, has the potential to claw back abortion access across the country. by allowing states to restrict or outright ban the procedure. Friday's 6-3 decision delivered by Justice Samuel Alito, with all three Liberal justices dissenting, reverses the historic 1973 Roe versus Wade decision. That original ruling found that a woman's decision to terminate her pregnancy was protected by the right to privacy that flows from the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, which protects a citizen's right to life, liberty, and of course, property.
For a reason. We were born in this place and in this time for a reason. We were born for a reason. Because we are restorers. We were born here to be protectors. We were put on this earth to make a better future and turn the ship around.
Meanwhile, following the U.S. Supreme Court decision to overturn Roe versus Wade's ruling that recognized a woman's constitutional right to an abortion, U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said today that women's rights will be on the ballot in November. Pelosi scolded the Republican leadership in Congress and said the party's goal was a nationwide abortion ban. The Democratic lawmaker criticized yesterday's court decision rejecting states' authority to limit the constitutional right to bear arms and said today's ruling on abortion contradicts that same principle. The court, in a 6-3 ruling powered by its conservative majority, upheld a Republican-backed Mississippi law that bans abortion after 15 weeks.
Yesterday, they say the states cannot make laws governing the constitutional right to bear arms. And today, they're saying the exact reverse, that the states can overturn a constitutional right for 50 years, a constitutional right for a woman having the right to choose. The hypocrisy is raging, but the harm is endless. But to see the Chief Justice side with this radical agenda, it's just stunning. And again, as a woman, as a mother, as a grandmother, to see young girls now have fewer rights than their moms or even their grandmothers is something very...
Also, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson said today a decision by the Supreme Court to overturn the landmark 1973 Roe versus Wade ruling that recognized a woman's constitutional right to an abortion was a big step backwards.
Look, I'd be absolutely clear with everybody. This is not our court. It's another jurisdiction, but clearly it has massive impacts on people's thinking around the world. It's a very important decision. I've got to tell you, I think it's a big step backwards. I've always believed in a woman's right to choose, and I stick to that view, and that's why the UK has the laws that it does. And actually, if you look, we recently took steps to make sure that those laws were enforced throughout the whole of the UK.
Up next, CBN says Forex trading inflows down 37% to $4.36 billion over TSA. We'll stay with that in business news after this short break. Please stay with us.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
Now 500 naira they collect them. If you no talk, then go beat you. Now 2,500 they pay.
And in business news, the Director General, Bureau of Public Service Reforms, Dr. Dasuki Arabi, has said that the federal government-backed integration personnel and payroll information system has so far exposed and eliminated about 70,000 ghost workers in the civil service system. He said that the government has saved at least 220 billion naira via the IPPIS and that about 10 trillion naira had also been through the Treasury single account since it was fully implemented by the Buhari regime. Arabi, at the 43rd session of the ministerial briefing organized by the Presidential Communication Team at the Presidential Villa in Abuja, gave updates on the Bureau's performance in implementing government reforms and programs, and said that the IPPIS had led to the reduction of federal civil service personnel to 720,000. The Apex Bank has said that the economy recorded lower net foreign exchange inflow in January in 2022, driven mainly by the net flows from the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, and the autonomous sources over the implementation of Treasury Single Account, the TSA. The aggregate foreign exchange inflow into the economy declined by 36.7% to $4.36 billion in January 2022. From $6.89 billion in December 2021. In its economic report for January, the Apex Bank said that the total foreign exchange outflow dropped to $3.41 billion from $3.59 billion in the preceding period. The Anambra State Cash Transfer Unit has revealed that 16,636 poor and vulnerable households are currently benefiting from the monthly 5,000 cash transfer program in the state. The head of the unit, Rafe Nokora, made their disclosure in Oka at the closing of a two-day workshop for civil society organization and the media with the theme Enhancing Social Protection Programs in Nigeria. Nokora said that the number of households increased from 3,122 in 2017 when the program started to 8,332 and currently 16,636. A motion seeking the intervention of the House of Representatives in the conflict between the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Tanko Muhammad, and Justice of the Supreme Court over issues bordering on welfare and working condition suffered a setback. While the House called for a general view of salaries and allowances of political office holders and public servants, the members were divided over which committee should handle the task. The chairman of the House Committee on Judiciary, Enefiok Luke, had moved a motion to seek the intervention of the chamber in the crisis rocking the Apex Court and better welfare package for judicial officers across the court. The National Productivity Center, NPC, has inaugurated a 12-man productivity committee aimed at bringing its objective closer to the people of Sokoto State. The NPC Director General, Dr. Kashima Akor, who inaugurated the committee in Sokoto, said the gesture was part of the center's mandate to accelerate socio-economic growth and development in the country, and also urged the state government to sustain its assistance to Sokoto State Office to bolster its productivity drive in the state. In his remarks, the Sokoto State Head of Service, Abubakar Mohammed, lauded the NPC for establishing its zonal office in Sokoto and tasked the committee members to be more committed to the fulfillment of center's core mandate of stimulating productivity consciousness at the grassroots level. And that's it on Business News. Many thanks for watching. I am Messi Bopo. The news continues.
Let's service some entertainment news. Stay with us.
Nigerian celebrity Tonto Dike has emerged running mate to the governorship candidate of the African Democratic Congress (ADC) in Rivers State, Tonte Ibraye. The actress and musician has lauded the ADC governorship candidate for nominating her as his running mate for the 2023 governorship election. The movie star took to her verified Instagram page to share the good news. Lagos State Commissioner for Tourism, Arts and Culture, Uzamat Akimbile Yusuf, has expressed the readiness of the state government under Babajide Sanwo-Olu to partner with filmmakers in the diaspora to produce world-class movies that will showcase the state and project it positively before the international community. The commissioner made this disclosure recently while speaking during a roundtable discussion with filmmakers at Oxford University, the United Kingdom, stating that the state government believes that the proposed partnership with household names in the film industry will also create more jobs for creative youths who are residents of the state. The roundtable discussion with filmmakers in the United Kingdom was facilitated by the Africa Film Academy, the curators of Africa Movie Academy Awards, AMA, in collaboration with the James Curious Society. The Glastonbury Festival has opened with a video message from Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in a pre-taped message. Zelensky asked for support during the ongoing Russian invasion, stressing that the more people join in defending freedom and the truth, the sooner Russia's war will end. Libertine singer and guitarist Pete Doherty later led the audience in a chant of Zelensky's name over the reef to the White Striped Seven Nation Army. Reality TV star and former glamour model Katie Price has avoided jail after admitting breaching a restraining order against her ex-husband's fiancé. A court heard that Price sent abusive messages to Kieran Hyler about his fiancé, Mitchell Pentecost, in January, and had been warned that she faced jail after pleading guilty, but the 44-year-old was handed a community order. Price had been banned from contacting Miss Pentecost directly or indirectly under the terms of the order, as she was given an 18-month community order to carry out 170 hours of unpaid work, with an additional 20 hours for breach of a suspended sentence for driving matters. The role of diversity in human history is at the core of Mexico's Museum of Memory and Tolerance's new exhibition to celebrate Pride Month, which opened its doors in Mexico City. An interactive timeline wall which displayed the rainbow flags, LGBTQ+, pride and legacy showcases the major feats and characters that marked the community's history in the world. To the museum's exhibitions director Linda Attach said that the idea behind the exhibition was to show how diversity's history and human history are intertwined.
And the main news again. Supreme Court strikes out Buhari's suit challenging Section 84, subsection 12 of Electoral Act. Ahmed Lawan, David Umahi, Godswill Akpabio, others missing from INEC candidates list. And Commonwealth leaders meet in Rwanda to meet criticism of host nation. That's the news now. For more stories, please follow us on our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And do subscribe to our YouTube channel at Plus TV Africa and Plus TV Africa Lifestyle. I'm Tolu Ojomi. Thanks for watching and do have a good night.
It for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Buki November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.